Εξομολογήστε το Κύριο διαγατός, αλληλούια, ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια.
What I'm talking about specifically is what? The validity of the text itself, the verses themselves. This
Sure.
is a specific issue. So when I was speaking with him, I went to the Gospel of Mark specifically, right?
Sure.
Because it's very time-consuming alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, to talk about all of the books of the New Testament, all of the four Gospels, for example, and the validity in each book. I gave the example. I haven't got too long, so let's talk about Mark's Gospel. Let's deal
Okay,
with
but
one
what do you mean by
Gospel first.
validity?
Validity talking about is the integrity of the text, basically.
What does he mean by that?
The integrity of the text referring to, can we trust what's written? Is this the text that was written by the authors originally?
Right.
Basically, you study textual criticism, I presume, right?
Yeah.
May I ask, like,
But
what
I haven't got like a PhD in it.
No,
put it that
but
way.
obviously, I mean, I have, honestly.
Okay.
But which textual school do you subscribe to, out of curiosity?
What do you mean by that?
Textual school. So there's four schools, right? Stated by David Allen Black in his introductory book on the topic.
Right.
When you study textual criticism, there's introductory books, right? David Allen Black, you know who that is, right?
I'm not that familiar
Okay, no,
with that.
that's fine. So he has a book. Okay, I'm not gonna ask you the question.
Just
No point.
ask the question.
There's
Yeah,
no point
'cause
asking.
you're jumping around
There's
it.
no point asking him what textual schools he follows when he doesn't know the
Yeah,
textual
so ask
schools.
me
It's
more what you're
irrelevant.
getting to, because that's not your point, is it?
No,
Your point is not which schools
I'm
you follow.
No, but I
Right.
want to know your methodology. Because the
Right,
different
well, you'll
schools-
find that out by talking to me.
Okay.
Okay.
So you understand the difference between the schools, right? But
Again, why are you going back to these schools?
Because I want to understand your approach.
Well, just talk about the methodologies in general, and then I'll give you my opinion related to
No
that.
problem.
Right.
Let him tell you.
Again,
let him
I
tell
haven't
you.
studied at university at this.
And I
I've
haven't.
been on-
I'm 19. I haven't studied at
Right.
university.
Okay,
so
my
this
point
topic
is, though, is that the bigger topic and the point you're driving to, I don't even know what it is yet, because you haven't made
Why are you
it.
trying to critique it then?
I don't know what it is. I'm waiting for you to tell me it.
Speak it. I
You've
told
just
you
been
what
like,
I
okay,
told-
first of all, do you know these books? And I'm like, wait, what? What's that got to do with your point?
The first thing I said
Right.
was I told you what was happening. The discussion made, which was
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you did, yeah.
So
But again, that's not the
what you
point.
just said, though.
That's not
Because
the
you just
point.
said that I jumped to ask you a question,
Okay,
but that's not true.
why are you being so defensive?
No, it's
Just
not-
tell me
it's
your
about
point.
It's because you're being dishonest.
Oh,
Dishonesty
what? I don't
breeds-
even know what your point is.
You just told
I don't
me.
even know what your
I'm telling
point
you,
is.
he just
How can
said-
I be dishonest about something when I don't even know what it
Answer
is?
your question. I'm telling you why you're dishonest. Right?
Speak about first school.
You've spoke to me for like 2 minutes, and you're already calling me dishonest.
I started up,
I just want to know your
Maybe you
point.
need to think why that is. Let me explain my
What is your point?
Interrupted, but let me get to the point.
Okay, don't ask me about books.
I know you don't know about them, so I'm
Tell
not
me,
gonna make you look
tell
embarrassed.
me.
It's fine. I'm gonna tell
Brother,
you.
I'm not embarrassed. I haven't studied this at university. I'm telling you that openly. Okay, then why are you talking about it? Get to your point.
The point was, when I was engaging with him, we were
Okay.
talking about...
Yes, I know this. You've said this already.
So I did tell you then.
Yes, that's what I'm
just
saying.
said
You
that
haven't
I
mentioned
didn't.
I said you haven't mentioned the point.
No, that is the point.
The point is that you had a discussion with
The
him.
point is, with all due respect, your relevance here is very
Okay, you had a
minute.
discussion with
My
him.
discussion
Nice.
was with him. My discussion was with him. So with
Okay.
all due respect,
And you said you
come
wanted
into
to
the
talk to me.
discussion.
You said you wanted to talk to me.
said
I
want-
literally walked past and you
I
went, I
said-
want to talk to you.
Just 1 second. I
Okay.
said you came actually pretty late because I came 2 hours ago.
fine, that's fine.
So if you want to listen to it, let me just say the way whereas I said.
Still
you
doesn't
just
sound like a
misquoted.
point to me.
I said I
Yeah.
wanted to speak to you. I came 2 hours earlier, but you
Yeah.
came pretty late because I have to go soon. That's
Okay,
what happened.
fine.
Then you asked
This
me
is
what's
normally
going
the time
on.
I
Then
get
you
here,
asked
by
me
the
what's going on. That's
Yeah.
fine. I've just come to London.
Oh, that's fine.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not even for this anyways. But,
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I was telling you, you asked what we was talking about basically. So
Yes.
I told you we was talking about the preservation, reliability of the text. Specifically, we talked about the Gospel of Mark.
Okay, now
and
what is the point?
The validity of the text. So
Okay.
is the text preserved? That's what we was talking about.
Okay. In what sense do you mean preserved?
Yeah, no problem. An additional omission by someone other than the author.
Right, so you're talking about purely textual preservation.
Purely textual doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, so
That's
you
not
don't
a
mean
term
by-
used in
you don't
academia.
mean-
No one uses that term.
Textual preservation.
Purely textual preservation. What is this?
Textual preservation.
Purely textual preservation. What's that?
Of course. Because it's okay. So for example, basic stuff, right? I can get a text and I can change a word in it, but not change the meaning of the text.
Are you the author?
Yeah.
No. Are you okay? Are you changing the work? Are you changing the text of a work which
So
you
okay,
wrote already?
Chris
Okay.
went to Speaker's Corner.
No.
Da-da-da-da-da.
No. But the important key.
I can take certain letters or certain words out of that and still retain the meaning.
No, but that's not the argument though.
Right,
We're
okay,
talking
so
about
what is the
saying-
argument?
Saying that the meaning. Okay. Saying the meanings that I'm gonna make a point. And I got a question about this. I'm not gonna quiz you. Don't worry. Saying that the meanings there is irrelevant whether it's been corrupt. That's changing the goalpost. There's changing the goalpost from has it been
What
corrupted?
goalpost?
I'm telling you the goal. I'm gonna tell you. Do you think I'm gonna talk about the?
Yeah, but
weather?
how can you say
I'm
the
gonna-
goalpost has been changed when you haven't told me your
I'm
point
going
fully
to tell
yet?
you if you let
All
me
I know
finish,
right
I'm
now,
telling you.
I know, but all I
I'm
know
telling
right
you.
now is that you're saying I am challenging the preservation of the Gospel of Mark. right?
Yes,
Okay, and I asked you what you meant by preservation.
And I'm telling you,
and
in
you went
addition-
any omission to the text.
No, but you asked me that
Okay.
how do I define corruption, right? I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I define corruption as an addition or omission by
Okay.
anyone other than the author, keywords.
By anyone other than the author.
Yeah, and the key,
Okay.
I'll tell you why it's important. Your example, you wrote a text, whatever Chris said this, you changed the word. Are you changing the word of your own text or not? If you are, it's your own text, it wouldn't be corruption, right? Because, for example,
Well, technically it would be, but
it would, according to which definition?
scholarly definition of
Give me this-
corruption of
give me a
text. If I change a text later on, have I corrupted it?
No, if it's your own text, you've not corrupted it. No. If
No, it's
someone
just
else
me
changing
who's corrupting it.
No, according to who? Give me your reference.
Corruption is a change or a variant in a text.
Right, okay, what's your reference just for that? By someone other than the author. I'm telling you.
No,
I'm
you don't
gonna
need that by
justify
the
it.
author. It's
I'm telling you-
anybody.
I'm gonna just- I'm telling
If you take a text
justification.
and I went up to it and I changed it, even if I was the original author, I've still corrupted that text. No.
If
So
you-
wait.
if you
If I
write a-
if
if
I
you
write
have
a book
diary- if
and
you-
then I
no, no, no,
change
no.
the
Just
entire
if you
book,
have a
even though I'm the
diary-
author, I've not corrupted it.
You're the author, it's your book.
If I wrote, if I was J.R. Tolkien and I wrote The Lord of the Rings, I then went back to that book and changed the entire thing to be something totally different. Is that not textual
I'm
corruption?
going to tell you, let me give you an example. If I wrote
That
a
is
diary
corruption.
and I chose to change a word in a diary, I'm
No,
not
the whole
corrupting
thing, the whole thing.
We're not, okay, you just changed it again. I never said the whole thing. I said changing a word.
No, I'm
I said
asking
an
you
addition or
hypothetically,
omission.
the whole thing.
No,
Is
but
that textual
no,
corruption?
but that's not your own problem. Though. Your problem is with my
You won't answer it
definition.
because he knows it's corruption.
No, it's not.
If I
It's
change
not
the
that-
entire
no,
text, I haven't
just
corrupted
answered
it.
Boom in your face. It blew up because you just lied, literally. I'm going to give my justification.
How have I lied?
What lied? Why?
Of what?
Because you're saying first of all it's the academic
Do you just
definition.
randomly insult periodically throughout a discussion? I don't know. Like this is just right. If I change a text, no matter if I'm the author of it, and I totally change the entire thing to be about a totally different thing, have I corrupted the text?
You're not corrupted your text. And secondly, my point.
I don't think you know what corruption is.
Okay, so give me your reference. You just said academic definition. Give the reference. No. We're not discussing. So you give a reference. You wanna
Right.
be a big
So
guy,
when let's
give
look
the
at New
reference.
Testament
No.
scholarship.
Give
Let
the
me
reference,
let
give
me
the
okay.
reference.
Let me
They
quote.
define it as that. Go ahead.
When we look at New Testament scholarship, if you look at those who study this, and when they talk about texts that are corrupted, Daniel Wallace, N.T. Wright, Roots Metzger, F.F. Bruce, keep going on. If you look at the terms of when the text is a variant or a known thing, they will use a technical term of corruption of the text. They won't even talk about whether or not it's done by the same author or a different author, because that's a separate question about the actual corruption
I
itself.
want to emphasize you
Thank
still
you.
not given the reference
There
and
we go.
defined definition as you just did. You just used the word.
You
just
disagree
used
with
the
that?
word
You actually
corruption.
disagree with that?
I'm saying to you. What did you say?
What is textual
What
corruption
did you
can
just say?
only
What
be
did
done
you
by
just
the
say?
author.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'm saying that when scholars look at the text and whether it has variants, right, or as they will probably use textual
I wouldn't say
corruptions,
variants is
the question of whether or not it was by the same author at a later point or a different author is a totally different question to whether or not there are variants or corruptions in the text.
First of all,
There we go.
variation is different to a corruption. A
Anyway.
variation is okay. Variance
Let's
exists in
move on,
all.
guys. No.
Jeez.
First of all, a variant does not entail corruption. I'll tell you why.
Oh.
If you have a variant in the manuscript tradition, it doesn't now mean that someone's gone in with an intent to corrupt the text, right?
Yeah.
It could mean it could be
Could
a
be an
spelling error.
accident,
For
yeah.
example, you
Could
know,
be a
this-
scribal
if
error,
you study
yeah.
New Testament textual criticism, you know most of the variants are leaning on you.
Yeah,
Most
yeah,
of the variants
scribal
are
errors.
spelling error.
Yeah.
Small scribal errors, right?
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Why? But I wouldn't say that's an example of corruption. For example, if I'm
No,
arguing that
textual corruption, that will be an actual thing.
what's repeated again?
Textual corruption means a change in the text, and
But
you
I'm
know
asking you to
changes
justify
by
that with your
manuscripts.
reference. Give a reference.
Any basic person who studied this.
Okay, the New Testament is corrupt. Anyone who studied this can justify that. Like I'm asking you for your reference. You just.
Where's your reference for your
You
understanding?
just now you're doing a two-K fallacy. Two-K fallacy.
I don't need to give a reference.
No, you do. You don't need to give a reference.
No,
Why?
no, not
You
for
just
the
made a
basic
claim that
understanding.
All academia, in academia, they have a
A
definition of
textual
corruption.
corruption is when a text is changed, and we know it's changed at points through variants.
The New Testament, you say, has been changed.
Any text,
Well, we're talking
including the
about New Testament,
Quran, by the
talking
way.
about- Yeah, I know
So
that the
any
Quran
text.
has variants in the manuscript tradition.
Thank
No
you.
one denies
Right.
this. What are you
So that's a
talking
form of corruption in the text.
text
Because there are
itself- the text
textual
what?
manuscripts that differ.
No,
It's very
you're
basic.
making a mistake, but
It's
just-
very
I'm not trying
basic.
to mock you, but you're making a mistake.
Why am I
It
making a
wouldn't be
mistake? Prove that I'm
corruption
making a
to the
mistake.
text.
Give me your source.
What do you think I'm going to do?
Give me your source.
The sort of, I'm making an argument. I'm not making a claim.
Ah,
that
so you
scholars
don't
say-
need to give a source,
No, I'm
but
gonna tell
earlier
you-
you demanded that I needed to give
I'm
a
telling you,
source.
let me tell you, if you let me
See,
speak
this
for
is
more
just-
than 5 seconds, you'll know that that's completely disanalysis. Why? You've made a claim that the scholars say X, Y, Z. That's valid for me to say, give me a source.
General
Just-
scholarship,
just
yes.
1 second.
General scholarship.
General scholarship, no
Yes.
problem.
Uh-huh.
So that's valid for me to say, give a reference. Me
Okay,
saying
I asked
to
you
you
for a
that your
reference.
position is wrong does not require a reference because I'm
Does.
making an argument.
No, 'cause you're making
an
the
appeal to
opposite of what I
scholarship.
said.
You're making an appeal to scholarship. I'm making an argument for myself without appealing to scholarship. So I don't need a reference.
So
you
your
do.
your view is not found in scholarship.
Which view?
The view you just said you make
Which
an
is
argument
what?
for.
What's the view that I'm making an argument for?
The,
Let's see if
the
you
idea that
understand.
textual corruption is not a thing if it's done by the same
That's not my
author.
issue. Just one second.
That was
the
your
bit
whole
that I-
point.
No, but the bit that I just corrected you on now is not that. You said it's
Was that not
corruption
his
to
whole
the-
point?
You said it's corrupt. Just one second. But the bit I just corrected you on is not that. You said that it's corruption to the text. I'm saying you're equating the text with a textual tradition. For
Wait,
example,
what? That's the
yeah.
first time you've brought that up. Textual tradition.
No, because
You've been talking about the text the whole thing.
I spoke for 2 seconds when that was my intent to mention. If
You've
you
been
stop
talking
interrupting-
about the text.
If you stop interrupting.
When we get to the later, but
Talking about the text, no shit, Sherlock. We're not talking about the trees, are we? Of course, we're talking about the text and the textual tradition.
Wait, what?
mentioned-
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah. The
I'm
text
talking
is-
about
the text
pure
is found-
manuscripts.
Yeah, manuscript, which refers to the textual tradition, not the text.
Okay,
itself.
yeah, you can
It contains
compound the
text.
manuscripts to
Thank
make
you.
the tradition,
Yeah,
sure.
the text is
But just on a per level basis, differing manuscripts with
Can I-
different variants is a corruption of text from a purely academic point of view.
I mean, if you want to say that the New Testament,
if
you
it
want
isn't,
to define
prove
that
it.
as corruption, if you want to say that's corruption, then I don't mind moving on, but I definitely disagree. I don't see you have a reference.
I don't know why, like,
Because,
whether it's done by the author or not by the author makes any difference to it. It's still
Yeah,
corruption.
that's
Can I say something
Because the
about
text has changed. A text was written and then later was erased and changed.
You're not saying manuscript in a vacuum. Manuscript got to relevant to a point.
Yeah.
Manuscript of what?
What do you mean? Manuscript of?
When you say manuscript,
Yeah,
manuscript of what?
whatever the original was. Because presumably, well, we don't have the originals
Mark.
anymore.
wait,
for
wait,
anyone.
wait, wait.
So we have the copies of copies of copies of the originals.
So then it's imperative to know when they say the original of Mark.
Yeah.
What are you claiming the original of Mark to be?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, both on how it look as a text, and what's the source of it? Is it the gospel of Jesus? Because I'm sure we have to go back to. Are we trying to go back to Jesus or something?
When you say gospel of Jesus, what do you mean by that? And I say that because Muslims and Christians have very different views about what that
No.
means.
Jesus received a message.
Okay.
Even inside the quote unquote Mark and all this anonymous Koine Greek writing.
Yeah.
But the language there you have it, you go back to the Koine Greek.
Couldn't agree.
That's the
Right.
source manuscript you have.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we have on the other hand they're saying we can't say for certain just speak this Greek, he speak Aramaic. That's his language, we can vouch for him.
It's a very popular opinion that he did speak some Greek.
Which is the evidence that he speaks Greek.
Because
The fact that, okay, so
Greek.
his disciples had Greek names. We have epigraphy, so we have rock inscriptions, we have pottery with inscriptions by Jews written in Greek.
Hellenized Jews.
The whole period was Hellenized hundreds of years before by Alexander the
Alexander
Great.
the Great, 250
The
before.
Jews actually
So does
went
that
out.
mean that
Wait.
Christ Greek? I don't understand that. Or
One
you're
second.
tied together.
Well, answer, there's more. The fact that the Jews actually translated the Old Testament in the Septuagint, the Old Testament into Greek, for supposedly someone in Egypt, is proof that there were definitely Jews that knew Greek.
So give me one quotation
So you
of Christ.
agree with all that?
Give me one quotation. One second. Give me one quotation.
I mean, if you want to
No,
deny
no,
that,
no,
I mean, it's just.
This is not my topic. Like,
All right,
so
that's fine,
to
that's
me,
fine.
source criticism and stuff is.
So surely they have
separate.
like they have statement in Hebrew
Yeah.
that they quoted in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Allegedly when he's on the cross and they retained the actual Hebrew language.
Like, for example, the Gospel
So,
of Matthew.
so give me one verbatim quote. I'm sure they can give one example if that's the case.
Example what?
That in Greek, a statement that Christ uttered in Greek. Verbatim statement.
The reason we believe that Christ spoke in Greek is A, the context of where he is, the historical context, but also the fact that the Gospels themselves talk about him talking to people who would have almost certainly spoke Greek.
And can I
Like,
say
who did
something?
he speak to? Like, who are those people? He spoke to?
So Pontius Pilate is one. There is the Syro-Phoenician woman at the well, that's another one. So there's reason just internally from the text.
So
Because otherwise you would have to assume that whenever he spoke to these people who almost certainly would have spoke Greek, he had a translator around,
But the question
which
is,
just seems
did Christ
less
initiate?
plausible.
Did Christ initiate that
Yeah.
propose to speak to them by going on out his way to speak to them, or is the reverse?
Wait, what do you mean, sorry, say that again.
Who initiated the speech?
Who initiated the speech?
With Pontius Pilate. When he conversate with each other.
They spoke
Christ-
directly to each other.
Yeah, but who initiated that conversation? Is it Christ or Pontius Pilate? Who proposed? Who proposed?
I don't know who spoke the very first word according to the gospel. I can't
But
remember.
according to the
that,
scripture is that they're pulling him by force, so obviously.
but- Okay, yeah.
Christ
Is
never
there
goes out
on
his way
trial
to-
and he's being brought on false? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know who actually,
So
according to the written account,
so
said the
Christ never
first
goes
word.
out his way to speak to them.
Sure.
Because a man who says who want clear the disciples don't go. And like in the book of Acts, Peter make it very clear. We know up and through the whole of Judea, beginning at the baptism. So the mission of Christ stay and within the perimeter of Judea by Peter's own admission.
Not after his resurrection. After his resurrection, Christ is clear in Matthew 28:19 and Acts 1:8 that they are to go to every nation and to proclaim the name.
And that's
Father, Son,
what
Holy
that's
Spirit.
exactly what was dealing those additions that he was dealing with. This thing came later on.
It's
Yes,
generally.
the editions
That's
are
exactly what he was dealing with.
And
I'm
this
not
is
sure.
a
Are
good point.
you familiar with the
Carry on
decision?
that one.
The
We come full circle back to
Yeah.
this point
Now-
now.
now we
Yeah,
come to
thank
that
you.
point. Yeah, come on.
Do you know which one he's referring to, or was you not here for that? Remind me.
No, I wasn't
He's
here
on
for.
about
So I
Mark's
mentioned a few.
edition.
I want to know what
Oh,
your
okay.
opinion
So the
on
long
this
running
stuff.
of Mark is
Yeah,
that what you're
it
referring
wasn't
to?
just that though, because I mentioned I want to ask I want to explain them to you, tell you what I said, and I want to know if you agree with them that it's corruption or not, just out of
Sure,
curiosity. So, for example, I'm going to tell you, and I'll see if you agree with it, and then we can go into the evidence or whatever for some of them. So, for example, would you say that Mark chapter 16, verse 9 through 20 is a later addition? Is a corruption to the text?
So I'm of 2 points, and I'm not sure which is correct. Either it is a later tradition, or it was part of an original that was later lost.
What was the second point?
It was part of an original that, let me make this clear. So the longer ending of Mark, in whatever its original state was at some point lost.
So you don't believe we have the longer ending, right?
Yeah.
So it ends at verse 8, right?
Yeah,
So
16 verse 8.
if that's the case, but either of those views would entail the fact that verse 9 through 20 is a later addition, then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 9 through 20 is a later addition, right?
Yeah,
It's a form of
it's
corruption.
more like an addition. So whether I take
interpretation
the longer ending to be authentic, and then after I make a decision on that, do I then think there could have been an original that once was there, but
like
it's now
whether
lost?
it's been lost or whether it actually ends at verse 8 you're talking about, right? Whether we believe it's been lost. Okay, but as we have it today, including verse 9 through 20 is a form of corruption. It's an addition. It does not belong there, right? You would agree?
We don't know the early oral
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very presumptuous to say definitively that you know what you don't know.
Okay,
So
but-
the church would be largely like, hey, we're aware of this, and we may have a tradition about this, but we're open enough to have debates about whether or not this is actually correct.
But you would agree that the
as
evidence
part of
goes
the canon.
against its authenticity, though, right? For example, it's been
Yeah.
omitted in Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Alexandrianus. I know it's
Yeah.
Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus.
Well, the case is all probabilistic, right? Because we're talking about history.
Everything is, yeah.
So
exactly.
really, you can make a probable case against it being an actual part of the original canon. Fine. But that doesn't definitively mean it is. It just means that it's hard to make a point for
also
it.
negate the other
when we talk
gospel's
about
message
history,
of
though,
Exactly, and it doesn't change the narrative, so
but
it's...
we're
That's
talking
the
about
most
history,
important
we're
point.
talking about probability to begin with. As
Yeah,
you're
of course,
aware.
yeah.
So that point is, to me, it's like, we already agree with that. We don't need to say, we already know that. Like,
Yeah, but it's
me and you
important to
anyways, unless
remind
you're-
and
no
to
problem.
understand, yeah.
But so your 2 positions: one that it is corrupt, that it's a later edition and it ends at verse 8, and the other position is that that there's a longer ending that has been lost.
Potentially, yeah.
Both of those
I'm
positions,
undecided
those
on
are
that
the only
point.
2 positions you hold.
Yeah.
That means that means that both of those positions agree on one thing:
What?
that the one that we have today is not authentic.
Wait, what? How did you arrive at that?
I'll tell you why.
Wait, when you say the
I'm
one,
gonna tell
do you mean the one Gospel of Mark, or
No, no,
what are
no,
you
no.
referring
I'm saying,
to?
No, I'm saying the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, verse 9 through 20.
Oh, just for that specific point.
Yeah. For this.
Well, it means
this moment.
probably.
Okay, but your 2 positions that you said, one of
Yeah.
these 2 are either
You're
true.
repeating yourself now. Yes,
because
yes.
because you went on a tangent. You said, "Oh, what do you mean? What's your evidence for that?" I just quoted you. That was the evidence. Like I just quoted your words.
Wait,
What
what?
I'm saying is,
when I say where's the
I'm
evidence
gonna
for
tell
that?
you-
I've been agreeing with you so far.
I know, but you just asked me now you pulled me up on what I was saying to correct what I was saying, right? Because you
Right.
thought I was talking about all the New Testament, whatever you misunderstood maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
I asked you
saying-
a question.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
Yes.
Which is what I responded to.
Okay,
So
yeah.
either one of 2 positions you hold. Either
Yeah.
one, it ends at verse 8, or 2, there was another ending which has
Yes.
been lost. We don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That,
Well,
both
we've
of
already
those
done this now.
Both of those positions necessitate, according to your views, that what we do have, verse 9 through 20, is not authentic.
Probably.
You would agree?
Probably.
But according to your
Right.
view, this is probably the case. Right?
Okay, yes.
Highly
Again, I don't know
probable.
Or
what...
there's
Can
one
you
more
make
addition.
the next point?
It could be it was left out because it was assumed they already know and
That's
talked
what it's
about that,
done.
and
Okay,
no
but-
need to add it in.
So, okay, do you agree with this argument? Think it's good?
Possible.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, no, but do you think it's probable? Not possible, probable.
I don't know if you could demonstrate it's probable.
Because my problem with that, I'll tell you the problem, what my issue is. Saying that because it was such a commonly understood in the Gospel of Mark, they just missed it out. Okay, but what about the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1 through 18? That was a very commonly understood thing. You would understand.
Okay.
Many times. So why didn't they just omit that then? Because it was so understood. There's many things in the Bible which is so emphasized. The crucifixion, for example. Why didn't they just remove the crucifixion?
I'm confused. Why are you arguing against the point I'm not making?
No, because I'm
Are you
dealing
arguing
with
against
both
his
of you.
point?
Are you going to tell him to go away?
No, I'm just wondering where you're going.
Yeah, I'm responding to him. And
Okay, that's fine,
And
yeah.
I'm asking you, do you agree with that? You said that you are
I said-
possible.
I said it's possible,
So I
yeah.
want to show you that it's unprobable, though. It's possible.
Okay,
it's
yeah,
improbable.
but I said it's possible.
But you would agree it's improbable, though, right? His position?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Okay,
Okay.
so what's your evidence for that position?
Just common sense.
How's it common sense?
Because,
Saying
because
that
they,
that's
get,
9
they,
to 20.
they didn't speak about the what they've seen empty tomb. Later on they did, and it was spoken
tell
widely.
you why that's a
Didn't
problem.
done an abrupt end like that
That's not
because
common.
it was assumed they knew.
I'll tell you why it's not common sense. If you're saying that they removed those 12 verses because it was so commonly taught they didn't need them, right? Then I could say the same thing. What about John chapter 1, verse 1 through 18? That was a commonly known thing. Why didn't they remove that as well?
And
What
from
about
the-
the crucifixion? Why didn't they just remove that? We know
Well,
about that.
from that argument,
Well-
why did they write the whole New Testament? They
That's
need
the
to.
whole point. That's
They
my
need to
argument.
then.
That's my critique.
that's
You
a
disagreed with
poor
my
argument.
point.
I agree
My
with
point is
this poor
critiquing you. You just agreed with me. You just gave an argument for
Can I
me.
say, if with some integrity, if you speak on this matter, the portion that we know that those verses don't found in the original. Those are the 12 verses. I mean, that's a point of most certainty that when they add it later on, that's interpolation and that's a corruption. This point, respectfully, is point of most certainty. You saying probably and this thing, I'm listening, you are using hypothetical jumpstart words. This it doesn't really hold no weight, because you could say this about maybe, probably, to get off any hook.
I won't get off any hook. I'm just not committed to a view.
So why would I ask you, the latter portion that you hold,
Yeah.
because two of them cannot be simultaneous at the same time, that's what we're saying. And that's what
Things
each one they
cannot
point out to you.
Say that again.
The latter portion that you hold,
Yeah.
where's the evidence that you have
Wait,
for
wait.
that?
When you say that you hold,
Okay,
I don't hold that
The
as-
longer,
yeah.
the missing part. Where's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
evidence for that? Like, what exactly is the missing part?
Where's the scripture evidence for
where's
that?
the
what you
evidence?
mean the longer version of Mark?
You're saying that there's two possibilities. One, that
Yeah.
it ends at verse 8, but there's another position, according to you, that it could be the case that it goes longer, but it's just lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where's the evidence for that? What
that,
would
yeah.
this content be? What would it be? What's the evidence for that belief?
Yeah, what's the scripture evidence?
I'm not aware.
So you have no evidence for this
So you just-
potential belief.
Well, again, I'm not committed
That's
to these
interesting.
beliefs.
saying.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think you quite understand
Based
it.
on nothing,
There's,
Bridget.
there's a lot more robustness than you're willing to admit.
No, but that's fine.
That's what I'm trying to demonstrate
What's
to
more
you.
probable?
I can have a very relaxed approach to this because there could be many different ways that this could have
Could
played
be
out.
again.
I am not committed to any of those ways, so I don't need to argue for them.
So which way do you deem is more probable then? 'Cause it
I don't
seems to me
know.
like
I haven't committed to a view.
Okay, is the view
Yeah.
that it ends at verse 8? Do you believe this is any
Why
evidence for
are
it?
you trying to like get blood out of a stone? I'm not committed to a view.
Oh, that's
So
not probably
you just stated the two potential views. So you obviously
No, the ones that I'm
Oh,
aware of that
those two
I
views.
think could be the case.
Those two views, right?
It could be more. I don't know.
But those two views both negate the potential of the verse 9 through 20 we have today being
Right,
authentic.
right.
You agree with that, right?
Yeah, my view is that the later ending is not authentic in the original. Yeah, that's
Thank
my view.
God, that's literally what I've been asking.
I started the very
you never
same thing
answered
saying
directly.
that.
You said, oh, possible. You never answered directly what your
But that's
belief
the
is.
Yeah,
push-up,
based on
that-
probabilities.
I'm a
Bro,
scholar, I know
bro.
that's the push-up.
Bro, I can be wrong about that.
I know
That's
we can all
my
be wrong. I'm not-
right.
There's no wrong
So
about that,
that was
though.
the very thing I started
agree
with. I
with-
told
you
you
agree with-
right at the beginning. That's my view.
So, okay,
I said
yeah.
either I said the longer ending I don't think is part of the original. It's possible there was another version that was part of the original, but now it's been lost.
Like a
That's
longer
all I
end
was
missing.
saying.
Oh, events at verse
Right
8.
at the very
It
beginning.
doesn't
At the
change
very
the
beginning.
major
So what about-
doctrines and
Exactly.
crucifixions.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine for a Christian worldview, because the Christian worldview does not hold to perfect
So in
textual
verse-
preservation.
what does Matthew
You're aware of
16
that?
verse 8 say?
Can I ask you that? Do you know that the Christian worldview does not hold to perfect textual preservation?
What was that repeated again?
The
sir?
Christian worldview does not hold to perfect textual preservation.
No one said that. I understand that. That's
Ah, okay, so you understand that.
And
So you
what does
understand from our
perfect
perspective,
preservation
textual preservation,
meaning?
meaning that you have the exact original and the exact text that it was originally written in.
Okay, now since you're a man of academia, where in academia
Wait,
do they
what?
define?
Oh, wait. I'm a man of academia. Didn't I start this conversation by telling you I didn't go to university and study this?
You can study academia without going to university.
And that makes me a man of academia.
You're a man of interest.
So I've never been
within-
in academia.
No.
but
A
I'm
man
a
of
man of
academia
academia.
meaning I'm going to
Now
explain
we
to you what it
reference
means.
So you're
Meaning that
using-
you reference and you look into the work.
Don't-
I'm sorry if you
don't use
misunderstand
cheap stuff
what-
like that.
It's not cheap. What's cheap about
Yeah,
that?
but listen, you're a man of academia. I
do you
told
define
you from the
respect?
beginning I
I'm
haven't
not going to
studied.
say you're a man of ignorance. I'm going to say you're a man of knowledge.
Well, just don't even say anything.
Insult
Don't even say anything.
Just
Just
do
make
something,
your
though.
point.
Just do
Just
something.
make your point.
So you agree that that's corrupted. Now, out of curiosity, moving on then. So we've established Mark chapter 16, verse 9 to 20 is later edition. What does verse 8 say in Mark chapter 16?
I don't know. Maybe.
Do you tell us the conclusion? Don't verbatim. Just give me the summary. What does verse
No,
8 say?
can you tell us?
No problem. So the summary of it, you were left with saying the woman saw there was trembling and they ran away out of fear and they never told anybody. Now, is that the narrative of the other Gospels? Okay, do you believe the woman told anyone or no?
Yeah, I believe that you can have verses in the gospel that are time sensitive.
That's not the question I asked. I said to you, do you believe that the woman told other people?
Yes.
Yes or no? Okay, so how come in verse 8 it said they never told, they ran away out of
Yeah.
fear and they never told anybody?
Exactly what I just told you, which if you were listening, you'd understand. I said it was time. Right, so that was the question you're asking then. It's time sensitive. That's the whole
But you
response I'm
have to
giving
wait
you.
till I get the question out.
Well, I already know where you're going.
No, okay.
So
Okay.
with respect, you
Everyone else-
know what you're saying.
everyone
I know what I'm
else-
saying.
Are we speak-
Right.
okay. If me and you
Okay.
were speaking, we can go have a shisha and coffee and down there, or if
That'd
you
be
want other
lovely.
people
Can
to
you do something
understand.
about convenience? Let's do subject
Yeah,
now,
the
because sometimes we
point
get
is-
lost.
okay.
I don't understand what you're getting at with this. Is this just to affirm like
trying to
what's
understand.
you know
I
what
want to know your
Bible
position.
scholarship has been
No,
for the last few hundred years? So
I
what's
want
the
to
point?
understand your position actually, multiple points,
Okay.
and I'm going to ask you about that.
Well, all right. So are you just going to go
What's
through
the-
every
what's the-
single case
No.
and then be like, what's
the-
your opinion here? What's your opinion here?
No,
What's your
if you
opinion
let
here?
me finish, you'd know the answers to that, which would be that I'm not.
Okay.
So in Mark chapter 16, verse 8, it says they never told anybody. You said, oh, they're time sensitive. Okay. Do you believe this is simple quickly before I ask the main question? Do you believe this is a problematic that
Could you
it
just ask
ends
the main
in verse
question?
8?
I really
Do you believe
appreciate
it's
just
problematic
asking
or
the main
not?
question. Because you're not asking the
Do
main
you believe it's
question.
problematic, yes or no?
Well, I think it's problematic. No.
What's not problematic?
The particular verse where the woman says that she did
Well,
not.
he says she didn't though.
Right.
Okay. How come the scribes didn't understand that? The scribes saw it as problematic.
Okay. Why
So
is
you're
that
going
an
against the
issue?
scribes.
Well, scribes
So
have
you're,
like
saying,
various
you're saying that
opinions.
verse 8 can be explained as saying,
Yes.
oh, they can be harmonized because it's time sensitive.
Yes.
But the early writers of the Gospels, they never understood it that way. Why? Because they added 12 verses to try and justify it, to try and harmonize
Right.
it.
So your view
you
is
just know
my
better than all
view.
the scribes, right?
Well, no, by all means, no. What I mean though is that it's possible for human beings to err, and it's
possible.
possible for human beings to have a variety of opinions.
Because we're
If
not
you want to do
infallible.
this, you've just refuted the whole of Islam's early history.
Again, jump into Islam. I know you want to jump to Islam, and I know
No,
you
it's
saw me
because you're
debated the brother
destroying
of
your
one
own
of my
faith
friends.
by trying to hurt mine. That's what I find disingenuous.
Destroying the faith.
You hurt your own faith to try and hurt mine.
Can I say something about you?
So the Mutazilites, they were early. They were totally wrong, right? Were they early scholars? Were they authoritative?
show you the problem.
There you are, there you go.
You're doing escapism respectfully. Because when you bring the point, and you cannot really...
I answered it.
No.
Yeah.
And you cannot deal with it with certainty. Let's
Wait,
have
what?
a...
Wait, certainty is a very particular word.
Hear what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
Certainty of with scripture reference that this is that position. We have to have some integrity. You know, all of us, and we claim to be people of God, man
Yes,
of God. we have to have
absolutely.
integrity.
Absolutely. Integrity is important.
Yes.
Very much
So
so.
that's why when you hold a portion about it only in a verse 8, that is a portion of certainty that the scholar hold to. We have nothing else. You understand?
Well, I need to look up exactly what
You
scholars
mean-
say about that particular verse.
If I don't have the royal cup in my hand drinking right, I don't have it.
Well, none of us have the
If you
original
had the
copies,
reference,
right? None of us have the original copies.
You say no.
Right.
Maybe I did have the cup and I lost it. That is not a statement of certainty. But for sure, I'm telling you right
Don't say
now,
statements of certainty.
I have no one ever
statements of
seen me with
certainty.
that cup of King Charles, and I never have that cup.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm just
King
saying
Charles,
to you.
what?
I'm saying to you, when you use optical argument, sometimes jumpstart keyword could be possible.
Yeah.
I see it as a way of trying to escape as a point of certainty, and the contrary that has been.
No, I'm open enough to admit that I am not certain about many things. In fact, I'm probable about some things, many things in fact. But there are things I simply have to say, well, I'm aware here are the possible options. I myself am not committed to one at this particular point. Maybe I will be later on.
But your two
Remember
positions.
But I'm open enough to admit that.
Remember, I asked about the gospel, like when thing there, he's talking about preserve.
Yeah.
When it's preserve relative to what are we saying preserve? What are you describing?
My understanding of
Because for
preservation
me, I'm
is that what you
focused on the message of Christ.
mean? Yeah, that is the message
That's
of Christ.
what-
That's
yeah.
what we focus on in the preservation of the Gospels.
So he's saying in Marcus, there's one statement from Bart Ehrman that stand out to me. Or can we say we know what the word meant, but we don't know what the words are, meaning he don't have them. He don't have the words of
Well, Bart
Christ.
Ehrman is the same author that said that no major textual variant actually changes any major doctrine.
And okay, and I actually emailed him about this because he has a website, Batman blog. You're
Yeah,
aware of this, right?
yeah.
And he actually changed his position. He believes there are many
Yeah.
examples. For example, John 7:53
Sure.
to 8 verse 11. So if you're going to appeal to a position, he says in the end of misquoting Jesus. I know where you
What
got this
major
name
doctrine
from.
is that
No, I'm
changing?
going to tell you. Just one second. I'm going to tell you. Just one second.
Yeah.
You just appealed to Batman.
Yep.
So you're appealing to his position.
Oh, his book,
A
yeah.
negation. Yeah, misquoting Jesus, right?
Yep.
Exactly. The end of misquoting Jesus is where he says this.
Yep,
If you
thank
take
you.
a look at Orthodox Scripture of Scripture, page 347, when he's talking about Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1 through 18, the prologue, he says it's a later edition, and he actually uses in his article, Bat Ehrman blog, and he actually responded to me on the same blog, right? I can
Yep.
get the reference so I can email it to you if you
Yep.
want, because it's like long ago, about a year ago, in a debate that I had regarding this.
Yep.
And he actually mentioned that there are many verses which have theological implications. For example, the
Wait, that's not the same thing. Wait, wait, you're referring to that as a major doctrine?
He does, which you
Wait,
appeal
what?
to him.
He-
Yeah.
Okay,
you
how is it
appeal
a
to
major
him.
doctrine?
That's it. You can ask him that.
Ah,
I'm
'cause-
telling, no,
okay.
I'm
So
telling
you
you.
don't know.
I'm telling you my issue.
It doesn't,
No,
by the way.
I'm telling you. Just one second. Just one second.
Because of the
That's,
claim.
he's changing the argument. Yeah. We're
No,
not talking-
because you've just
never
realised you
appealed
don't know
to-
enough about this
No,
to talk about
I
it.
don't. Just one second. Without
Okay.
being arrogant,
Okay,
right?
great.
Because as at the
Tell
beginning
me-
of this discussion, just like within the beginning of this discussion, I asked you a simple question. You're ignorant, but I didn't insult you, so don't insult me. And I won't insult
Am I
you.
insulting you? Am I
The
insulting
point is
you?
this: he appealed to Bat Ehrman, saying that Bat Ehrman
Yes.
says, "Oh, that no."
Because he has said that, yes.
He said that, right?
Yes.
I'm telling you, if we're going to take him as an authority, let's take a look at his other words where he says
We
there
check
are
it, yeah, we
variants
check
which
it.
affect theology. He gives examples.
sorry, I missed
Whether
it.
those examples I agree with or not, it's not the point. I
Right.
disagree with your usage of Bat Ehrman, not the
Right.
validity of Bat
Right.
Ehrman. I disagree that you're demonstrating you're representing Bat Ehrman's view correctly. I believe that he had that view in misquoting
Yes, he did,
Jesus.
because he
the
put
last-
it in his own
yeah, in
word,
the end,
yeah.
in misquoting Jesus a very
Yes,
long
which is
time
what I'm
ago when he
quoting
debated Daniel Wallace.
Daniel
he actually
Wallace,
said many
yes.
times he
They're
debated
good
changed his
friends.
view.
Yeah, yeah.
You're good friends, no problem. I hope you're friends with anyone. No, the guy on the tree, no problem.
Yeah, yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Right, so what
The
major
invisible
doctrine does
man.
it change?
No, but the point again, just one second. You're changing the goalposts. Why? You made it, my problem is.
Wasn't my whole point that it doesn't change a major doctrine?
No,
Now
your
he
point
can't tell
was
me what
that-
major doctrine it
your point
changes.
was that
Now he
every-
can't tell me what major doctrine has changed.
says that
His point-
crucifixion happened.
But
Yeah,
be
of course
fair,
it does.
He also
So-
says the resurrection
Well,
didn't
then
happen.
He thinks
also says
Islam
the
is like
resurrection
totally
didn't-
ahistorical.
But he also says the resurrection didn't happen. Why? Because his methodology. Yeah, you believe Batman believes in the resurrection.
Oh, sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Crucifixion,
Oh,
sorry. I
he
thought you were
believes-
saying
yeah.
crucifixion,
So
my bad.
the why-
But he does believe in the crucifixion.
What's the commonality in his methodology?
He came and said, I am. Who crucified him?
No, but he said, I am. No problem. You're presupposing, you're going to say Pontius Pilate crucified him. First of all, you're presupposing the
little
words
things and make
attributed to
it
Jesus
big.
in John is
Yeah.
reliable. Can you prove that? Can you
Yeah,
prove
it
the
is,
words
it is
attributed
indeed.
in the Gospel of
Disingenuous.
John is reliable?
Found it very
Can you,
well.
okay, I don't agree that he said I am. What's your evidence he said I am?
No, but
In the why should I believe in the Bible? Wallahi, okay, I'm gonna speak to you later. I'm gonna go tomorrow to speak to you. Listen, with all due respect, don't speak. You just
Well,
make
to be
ignorant
fair, you
claims.
saying that you don't think
It's
he said
ridiculous.
that is very different from an agnostic
What's the
position.
evidence? What's the
No,
evidence?
from an agnostic
Yeah.
position.
I
So
don't
if you're
agree-
consistent-
I don't agree with your attribution to.
Okay.
He came in and said Jesus said I am. I am.
Right,
in the
that's
Gospel
fine.
of John.
You can
Where's
say you
your
are, okay.
evidence
That's
for that?
fine. That's fine. But my point is
What?
The Jews knew.
wait.
The Jews. Okay,
Okay,
why?
one
What's your
second.
evidence?
One second. My point is that if you can't simply say, well, no, that didn't happen because there's no evidence for it. Rather, the correct position is that you're agnostic about whether it happened or
No.
not. Do you understand? And if you think he didn't say that, then you need to give the
I'll tell you
evidence.
why. First of all, there's
Yes.
a lack of evidence to attest to the claim that
Uh-huh.
he said that.
Does that negate the claim?
But it justifies me in saying I don't accept that. I reject this attribution.
That's fine.
Okay, and I
But you
said I
can't
reject the
say
attribution.
the opposite though.
I don't believe it happened. I don't see evidence that it happened.
Wait. No, you're equating those two.
Well, equating which two?
Right. So absence of something doesn't mean the negation is true.
That's fine, but it can.
Right, okay,
set
so
in
you-
context, but it can. Okay, an argument from sounds. I know what you're
You should-
saying.
you should just say, I am
Evidence-
agnostic to it.
Absence of evidence is not evidence for
Yeah, so
absence.
you can say
but at the
that
same
one.
time,
Yeah.
though, it can be the case that an absence of evidence can be evidence of absence. It can be the case. But hence
Yeah,
it's
there are
called-
cases where it can be.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
So I don't believe that fallacy is applicable to what I just said. I believe that's not applicable.
No, my whole point was that you were saying there is no evidence of it. You don't accept the Bible account as being reliable. Therefore, he did not say it. I'm saying that doesn't follow logically.
How do you know he said it? When we talk about
No,
saying
no.
it, I'm
Look,
going to
look.
answer you. Do you want an answer?
Okay, all right, fine. I'll let you.
No.
I'll let you go.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Chris. So when he makes a claim that Jesus said, I am, I'm going to say, no. Where's your evidence for that? I reject that. I don't reject that attribution. Where's your evidence? Bring me the evidence. Until you bring me the evidence, which, by the way, he lacked to do, right? Why should I accept it? I reject this attribution.
Okay,
right?
but you're
For example-
agnostic about it then.
No, just one second.
Okay.
Just one second.
Did he commit blasphemy?
If it's
for
the
that?
case, what?
Did he commit blasphemy?
According to what? According to the Gospel of John, no problem. According to the Gospel
I
of John,
don't
that's
know.
fine.
What's
But the
that?
whole problem is, okay. First of all, if I'm going to speak, okay, I don't want to be insulting. It's very hard.
No one's insulting
I'm
you
speaking
here.
to three people. It's like the Trinity of Christian debaters. Can you just chill out a
No,
little bit?
the
One at
Trinity
a
is not
time.
three different beings.
It's three
The
different
Quran
persons.
says
It leads
so.
to three gods.
The
Either it
Quran
leads to
says
three
so.
gods or modalism.
Does the Quran say the Trinity is three gods?
It either leads to three gods.
Does the Quran say the Trinity is three gods?
get about
Is your authority the Quran?
No, is it
Oh,
yours?
so
Is
why
it
you
yours?
go
Is
to
it
the
yours?
Quran?
Is it yours?
Yeah,
Is it yours?
So,
Because the Quran is from God, is it not?
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
Okay, so your Quran gets it wrong then. The Trinity, no Christian has ever thought the Trinity is Allah, Jesus, and Mary as two separate gods. So your Quran is wrong.
Again. One second.
He brought it up.
One second.
That's nonsense.
Then again, no,
Not
one second.
substantial.
You see, the statement about whether Jesus is I am or not, there's multiple problem there. And then that's why you have to validate scripture first.
Yes. Before we interpret
No,
it,
you have
yes.
to- you have to validate it to be relatively be in the word of Jesus. And this is why it's imperative to also know from certainty. Because we can't have a...
So use the word certainty,
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One
No,
second.
go on, finish.
We can't have a dubious input
Naam.
that we don't even show if Jesus speak Greek. We pontify now, we try to patch up and generally say this time.
Well, scholarship is generally.
It's not certain, sir. You know
in
it's not
scholarship, it's actually more of a question if he knew Hebrew. Interestingly. Yeah.
There's no much.
They all accept he knew
Which scholar
Aramaic.
says it's certainty? I'm sure.
I'm not talking about any certainty, bro.
We all
I don't.
negate certainty,
Yeah,
we
but
all
you
agree.
keep saying it.
Yeah, but I'm telling you why
Yeah.
I say that. If you listen to be patient.
Okay.
And that input right there, where you don't certainly speak Koine Greek. Yes? But then you're gonna have an output conclusion of certainty about a message or a junction that is in Koine Greek.
I'm not assuming certainty. I said
So
probably
I am,
in this
that
case.
statement of Christ is I am.
Yeah.
That's in Koine Greek. That's
Yeah,
the
sure.
last language it goes back to,
Yeah, sure.
not to Aramaic.
Well, I mean, in a written form, yeah.
Yeah, but we know that the scholars them and they can say for sure they're sure that he spoke Aramaic. Nobody contests that.
Yeah, but that's certainty. Like, you know, can you prove to me the sun will rise tomorrow?
I'm saying
my point is that
I'm
you
saying
need to use good standards for
I'm
knowing
saying
things.
to you, they say for sure he spoke Aramaic. Nobody contests that though. that Christ spoke Aramaic.
Well, yeah, no one can test anything in history, really.
No, I'm
you
not
can,
talking
you
about-
can, you can have evidence for points, but you can't go back and literally experience it, right?
I'm talking about a specific point.
Unless you have a time machine.
One second, brother.
You can't experience it.
You're generalizing. I'm talking about a specific point. None of them can test that Christ spoke Aramaic. They say for certainty he spoke Aramaic. I'm talking about that specific point. Do you agree with that
It's
position?
incredibly highly likely he spoke Aramaic, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
when you have a
overwhelmingly.
statement on I am
Yeah.
in Greek, that's one argument
Right.
that you have to look into to validate. This is actually a message from Christ. The next point now,
Yeah.
charitable. Even if Christ did say that and it translated into Greek,
Yeah.
context does matter. Is he claiming to be God like when Moses says, when God says to Moses, I am? Because if you look in the Septuagint, in Greek, the scribe express it differently. Ego, im, and oan.
So I would be of the view
Yes.
that in John chapter 8, the stronger argument to be made is when Jesus talks about how Abraham saw his day and was glad. And in John 1, the very same author writing this says that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That seems to tie back very well with Genesis 15, where Abraham saw the Word of the Lord. So it seems that Jesus is referring to that.
No, but I'm saying
There's a lot
Yeah,
of
those are wasps,
Christians said, why did I get up to stone?
no, but
That I think is a stronger argument from my point of view.
I'm saying the context does matter.
Yes, that is
If in
context,
John
yeah.
8, a couple verses before, there's a clear, just put clear distinction between him and the Father.
Yeah, we don't think that Jesus
Yes.
is the Father.
Yes,
you
but-
can't be a Christian and think that Jesus
But we
is the
show
Father.
100% the Father is God.
Yes, the Father is God. He's described as many places as being God.
Okay.
Like Jesus, for example,
So to
describes
put
him
a
as
clear
God.
distinction between him
Yeah.
and Father in John 8,
Yep.
later on when to say I am, that doesn't make him God. You look at the context. He's not claiming to be God, because like I said to you in the Septuagint, the scribe in Septuagint express two different when God says I am to Moses, and when Jesus says I am. They put two different expressions to this guy, two different magnitude. They don't mean the same thing.
Okay. Well, again, to prove Jesus' divinity, I wouldn't even go to that place anyway. There's plenty of other places.
So
you
when
can
I'm
go.
trying to say the scribe of Septuagint, the same type scribe,
Yeah.
they don't believe that Jesus I am that make him a divine, the God of Moses. Because
sure.
they themselves in their writing express the difference.
I'll check it out.
Yes. So unless you're gonna argue
But again,
that's the
for
point.
Jesus' divinity, I would not go there. There are stronger places where Jesus affirms his divinity. in the
Like,
Gospels. That's what we would
I
go
want
to.
to know where are those stronger places? Where are those stronger places?
Okay, so Jesus says in John 14, 13 and 14 that when he goes to the Father, you can pray to Jesus in his name and he will answer your prayers. Is prayer something that only God can do?
We also know that this is also if you ask the Father in my name, it's also a little addition.
Okay, but ignoring all that,
Even on
ignoring all
YouTube,
that.
there's
My point
Bible
is,
scholars put video right
yeah, but my
now.
point is,
right.
according to our understanding, is Jesus divine?
But I'm saying, you know what I'm saying now? You bring argument.
The answer is
forward.
yes, by the way.
According to Mark's Gospel, absolutely.
You bring
no
argument
evidence
forward.
for
You
What,
bring-
Mark's Gospel?
it. No evidence for it.
What about the very beginning where he's called the Son of
Mark
God?
chapter 1 verse 1, 3, where, okay.
Yeah.
Being called the Son of God is not an evidence. For example, Luke chapter 3 verse 38, Adam's also called the Son of God.
There are many sons of God, but
yeah,
Jesus
so-
in John chapter 10,
Yeah,
verse
and it-
37 onwards, explains how he is uniquely the Son of God in the way that he is
He
preeminent.
just switched it from Mark's Gospel to John's Gospel.
Can I-
Look at
Because
can
our scripture is holistic.
Look how he
Our
has to
scripture
read
is
from Mark's
holistic.
Gospel, which doesn't show his divinity. He has to jump to John.
They don't want to do that.
Wait. That
Mark
same.
was writing
Wait.
way before John
Is the
was.
same
That's
term used in
hilarious.
Mark as well as John?
Yeah, but the intention
Okay,
of Mark is
so
not the
both
same as that of
authors
John. Where's your
describe
evidence?
Jesus as the Son of God.
Yeah, and also
okay,
Luke's
so
Gospel
does John
ascribes
then
Son of God to
expand
Adam
what
as
the
well.
Son of God means in chapter 10?
In John, we can verify that.
There you go then.
John is this. Okay.
We look at
first of
scripture
all-
holistically, he doesn't
first
want
of
to do
all,
that.
We can talk. Okay, just one second. First
it
of all,
complements the
your
other.
evidence that Mark, your
we do the same thing
so
as
his
well.
evidence that wait, akhi, billah alayk, 1 second. His evidence that Mark believed Jesus was God was that Mark calls him Son of God. But then the evidence
That's
that Son of God
one
means
of
he's divine
many.
is because he goes to the
One
Gospel
of
of
many.
John.
What
Show
about
me
John?
Mark
What
evidence.
about Mark 16:42?
Which way reference Daniel chapter 7, right, verse 13?
Well, my point, yeah, I believe so.
That's
But
very easy to
my point
respond.
is, how did the Jews respond to it?
No, but in verse 27,
How did the Jews respond to it?
Very easy.
Go on
So
then.
it says, this one will be given the kingdom of heaven and all glory be with him.
Yeah.
Take a look at Daniel chapter 7, verse 27, where it also says, the same glory and will give it be given to the Holy
I'm talking
One.
about the Jews at
With
the
all due
time.
respect- No.
The Jews,
In
no,
Daniel 7,
don't
we have to look at the whole
read the next
no,
verse.
no,
What does the
no,
next
no,
verse
no,
say?
no, no,
What does the next verse
Go
say?
ahead.
It says that the Jews thought he was being blasphemous by claiming this. You find the same thing in Matthew 26. It's the same thing. Jesus said the same thing.
So you're talking John 10:30?
What about Mark 2?
Yeah, Mark chapter 2, no problem.
Why,
Wait,
when
so
it comes-
he heals the paralytic man.
It claims to be the what's it now? The Lord, the Lord of the Sabbath.
I can respond to that.
So wait,
as well.
okay,
Really,
no,
go on
no,
then.
what do you want?
Yeah, but there's a difference between responding to something
I
and
can
actually
answer-
making
I've
a
answered
convincing
it. I can make
argument.
an argument against this, but I
No,
don't
I
want
wanna
to
hear the
take
first
away
one.
But
his-
these are huge.
No,
It's difficult
Do you
for me to
understand? I
know.
can keep
It's
rolling
difficult
these out
for me to
again and
know.
again. You know, Isaiah, we talked about Isaiah
Isaiah
3,
chapter 40, verse
verse
3,
3,
which
Malachi 3, 1.
I know
Yep.
it's Mark chapter 1.
Okay, the Lord coming to his temple.
Yeah, and you
Okay,
can
what's
say
your
that the
response to
Lord,
that?
yeah, the one who pays the way for the Lord in
Uh-huh.
the Old Testament.
Who's the one that
is
pays the
what?
way?
Yeah, in here it's John the Baptist.
Yes,
in the
that's
Gospel of
correct,
Matthew.
yeah.
Man, I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
understand.
I know.
That's easy to answer.
And I
Yeah,
can't
particularly
learn
if
like
you
this. I'm trying to learn and try to pick up some stuff.
I don't want to.
Okay, do one part at a time. One
Go
part at a
ahead.
time.
Well, he's look.
Yeah, I know,
thought
but
you were
no,
talking
no,
to
no,
me.
like,
Okay.
respectfully.
Like two.
Sorry.
But my point is, I don't think you have an answer for that. I don't think you have an
I
answer
can,
for
I
that.
can. No,
What's the
Lord of the
answer?
Sabbath, or do you want me to respond to the paralytic man?
No, I want you to respond to this
Lord
one.
of the Sabbath, right?
No, I want you to respond to Isaiah 40 verse 3, Malachi
Okay,
3
so
1.
you're referring to Mark chapter 1 verse
Yes.
1 3 where
Yeah, at the very
Malachi
beginning.
3:1 and Isaiah chapter 40 verse 3 where it
Yeah,
says
that's
the one who
correct.
paved the way for the Lord, right?
Yep.
In the Old Testament, the one who paved for the way for the Lord is going to be Yahweh, right? And you're going to say because John the Baptist paves the way for Jesus, it means Jesus is Yahweh.
Yeah, because Yahweh is
your
coming
argument,
to
right?
his temple.
Yeah, I know. In the Old
Right,
Testament.
so
That's
Yahweh
that's
is coming
that's
to his temple.
That's the Old Testament, right?
Yeah,
And
or the
you're
Old Testament
I know.
prophecy. The Lord will come to his temple.
I know this
And
already.
one will prepare the way for that, which is John the
respond to
Baptist.
that?
Yeah, I'm
I
just
know
explaining the
this.
context so
I
you
know
know.
the context. I've
Okay, so
literally
just
told
making you
the whole
familiar
story.
with it, right?
That's
Okay.
right.
Carry on, carry
In the
on.
Gospel of Mark, it tells us in chapter 9 what? To welcome God's representative was to welcome God. In chapter 9, verse 37 or 39. I can pull it up if you want. I got my phone on me now.
Yeah.
So in Mark chapter 9, it tells us to welcome God's representative is to welcome God. We can apply the same principle of agency established here in Mark chapter 1, verse 1 to 3. The one who
So you hold
paid-
to agency theory?
Just one second. Just
Okay.
one second, please. Likewise, the one who paved the way for God's representative paid the way for God, right? It doesn't mean the Lord's representative is God himself. Likewise, in Mark chapter 9.
So
we have
the
to-
flaw in that reasoning is that there's a very distinct kind of way that you're paving the way for the Lord to come to his temple. This is a very specific. It's not a general form of, oh, well, a prophet is just generally preparing things. So no, he's preparing the way for Yahweh to arrive at his temple.
No, I understand.
Yes,
What temple?
which is fulfilled according to Mark in the coming of Jesus, with John the Baptist prepared for him. So Jesus has been described as who? Yahweh.
Through his servants, through his
What
representative,
reference
Jesus.
is that?
That's Mark 1. I'm referring to Isaiah 40 verse 3, Malachi 3 1. Mark 1 quotes these.
Mark quoted
Sorry, what?
Mark quoted Isaiah, you say?
Yes, Isaiah 43
Oh, you
and
know,
Malachi 3 1.
directly that Mark is quoting Isaiah.
Because he quotes it. I don't know what you mean by that.
He actually makes an error, by the way. He makes an error, by the way.
It depends on what kind of quote you're trying to do.
No, he makes an error.
Alright, you said
What, paraphrasing?
Yeah, because he says as written in Isaiah, and then he goes and quotes Malachi and Isaiah. Well, that's not Malachi's not Isaiah.
It's probably just relating you to
No,
it.
no, no.
Yeah, but you say again, you have to be like, no, that's definitely an error. What criteria are you
You're
using?
saying, no, it's
Oh,
not an
no,
error.
whatever.
Okay, on the apparent, it's an error. So the burden's upon you to show that the apparent is false. On the apparent, he says in Isaiah it is written, and then he goes and quotes Malachi. I'm sorry, but the apparent is that that's an error, and that you can provide evidence.
No, of course
negating
not.
that
Of course not. You would have to know the historical context and whether or not that was a familiar way of referring to scripture.
I'm trying to understand. The Mark give
Well, I think the Bible is an example.
Give me an example of a
That's
verse
the
where
whole
it does it.
point.
Give me an example of another. Give me another example where it does the same thing.
There are many different types of prophecies that are referenced not directly.
No, I never
Absolutely.
said the direct prophecy. I never
You
said
did. You
that.
literally
I
did.
to
You
what
said,
he
wait,
says.
wait. It quotes.
No,
It quotes one, but not the other.
no, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
No,
Well, it's what you said. You said it. Well, one of you said it was 40 and 3 and Malachi 3 1, but it only quotes one of them.
No.
Does it only quote one of them?
So once
Does
you go,
Does it quote one of them?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand.
You won't
I'm trying to
answer.
understand something.
I'm trying to answer you, but I'm
About
not-
Does it
Isaiah.
quote one of them?
I want to say about Isaiah the point.
Does it quote one of them?
First of all, he quotes one of them, but that's
Okay,
not what he
thank
said.
you.
He
So that was
quotes
the
one,
answer.
That's not the one he says.
Right, okay,
He says
so
he's
that's
quoting
my whole
Isaiah, but he
point.
quotes Malachi.
What I'm saying though is there are other parts in scripture
as?
where it quotes old
Such
prophecies.
as?
I
Like,
can't think of
mixes
one
up.
off the top
Like,
of
you
my
cannot
head,
think
but I'm
of
aware
very-
of
I
it.
wrote
One
very
second,
interesting.
one
You cannot
second.
think
Yes,
of
I
one.
know, I'm not a living dictionary. I'm not Sam Shamoon.
You just quote-
So what I'm saying is that there are many parts of scripture
We
where it
have no
quotes
evidence
old
for that, though.
scripture,
We
but
have
it
no
does not quote them directly,
you
but
have no
rather
evidence.
it paraphrases them.
No, like, one second. When Jesus quoted,
You know that's there.
You're saying that it's a scripture, but you
Let
cannot give
this
me the
man
You're just pretending to be
let him
ignorant.
answer.
Oh,
I
okay.
want to say something here. When Jesus quoted Old Testament,
Yeah.
just always give an indicator. Is it they said it was written, or either utter the prophet, the previous prophet name outright? Like for example, when he quoted Isaiah 29 verse 13, just as Isaiah was right about you, you hypocrite. This is just always give an indicator. Either say it is written so we know it's something of the past, or he mentioned the name of the previous prophet. Mark didn't do that. So you say Mark is not following Mark, the author of Mark, alleged quote unquote disciple. Well, let me for a second, let's not do that, my friend.
Yep.
Sorry. He's not following the teacher Jesus the way that he quoted the previous scripture. So the question is no, not because if two statements is similar or identical, that is not a first and proof that the person is quoting another person. You said so many things right here.
Okay,
One
can I
second.
respond to this? You made 2 points now.
Yes, and I'm allowing this. You said so many things right here that I found similar to people that are Christian in the 60s that I spoke to before that you never met in your life. Doesn't mean you're quoting from them.
Right.
So what the evidence that Mark is quoting
Okay,
Isaiah?
generally speaking, if you assume in the historical context that the Jews were familiar with Old Testament texts, then when you find something that, funny enough, matches in theme, in style, and in reference, then you will be like, okay, that seems to be reasonable to say that is either a paraphrase of that, or a direct quote, depending on what the other's trying to do.
Okay.
Now, you said, but Mark changes his way of doing it. I think Mark has the literary freedom to do that.
Okay, fine.
And that's absolutely
So
fine.
Concord's approach. You say Mark quote Isaiah,
Yeah.
and that indicate that Jesus is God, Yahweh.
In the context of him explaining that John the Baptist is that person, he was that
And
messenger,
Jesus is
and
Yahweh.
Jesus is Yahweh coming to assemble. Yeah.
So you're saying that means Isaiah that he quoted would be sharing and presented that same sentiment that Jesus is Yahweh in Isaiah.
How is that possible? How would Isaiah know?
Your evidence for saying Jesus is God and Yahweh, you quoted what Mark.
Isaiah was born hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus.
Listen.
Right, so he doesn't need to share the same thing at all.
Listen, you listen carefully what I'm saying to you.
Okay.
It's your evidence that I'm using, and I'm agreeing with your evidence for a second. To make you see what's gonna happen. You quoted Mark quoting Isaiah to prove what at the end of it that Jesus is Yahweh. Don't you? That's the end goal. That's why you do that, to prove that. So that means in the same Isaiah, it must have meant in that verse that it's talking about Jesus as Yahweh.
I think it's possible to have more than one meaning.
If it's not talking about just as Yahweh in Isaiah, then the quotation is irrelevant. Makes no sense to indicate that Jesus.
No, you can have it referred to many things. So, for example, it could be a prophecy about the coming Messiah. It can also be a text that is relevant to the people at the time to indicate
Let's make it very simple.
a preparation for looking for the Messiah.
Make it very simple.
It's very simple.
Make it very simple. Is Isaiah. Okay? No, you can understand me simple when I do. Go on, please respect me.
I want to ask some questions about Islam.
No, yeah,
now,
but that's no
because we've been
respect.
talking about
No,
Christianity
yeah,
for a long
no, yeah,
time.
but we're gonna
And I know that you're about to go.
We can do that, but we have to hurry because I literally.
Okay, so
it's
can we
my
go on
only
that
day.
now?
No,
Because otherwise
please,
it's going to
no,
go.
I'll show you. But you scared of someone that you're wrong.
I know, but can I ask you a question?
I told
Because
him
it's
an
going to
hour
go
ago
soon.
he
And
can
I can
ask.
talk to you after.
You cannot.
I told him an hour ago he can ask.
Yeah, but he hasn't got much time.
But you cannot say that no one ever refute that you're wrong when you don't let someone refute your point when I'm presenting it.
I don't let someone
And
refute
so
my
this-
point.
and respectfully-
Well, I mean, I would
No,
be a poor
respectfully-
apologist if I didn't.
No, respectfully,
If I let people refute my point when I say it.
Respectfully, let me finish your point, respectfully.
Yeah.
Because I like to dumb things down until people get it like a child.
Okay, all right. Come on.
So it's Isaiah.
Final thing now, because I want to move on.
Yes. So it is Isaiah.
Yeah.
Okay. The reference that he's quoting,
Yeah.
that Mark quote later on.
Yeah.
Okay. We said Mark quote that Isaiah to prove that Jesus is Yahweh, is the God.
Yeah, that was his point.
So that means when him presented the same statement that Mark gonna quote later on, he has to be presenting the same thing. If Isaiah from Isaiah is to present that someone else is the God, then Mark quoting it
Was wrong.
is wrong to prove just is God. Because Isaiah's intention is he is the God when Isaiah quoted.
Yes.
Say you Jesus. Isaiah intended he is the God. I am Mark. I'm quoting this now to prove you is the God. You different from him.
How long do you have left, by the way? How long do you have left?
I literally, okay, today, we have multiple things. I came to speak for like an hour. I want to go to the multiple things I want to do.
You another time,
Okay,
brother.
can I talk with him real
I
quick
wanna
before he has
speak
to
you.
go?
We can speak about the Quran's
Okay,
preservation.
thank you. That'll be really good. I think it's good because we can keep in the same theme and the same
logic.
topic.
I don't use logic, but it's kind of
There's two
logic.
topics.
And
Either we can discuss Tawheed or we can stick on the topic and
I'd
stick
like to stick on the
preservation. That's fine by me. Preservation.
Okay.
Let the point finish though. One second, because it's
No, because this is a time thing,
no,
right?
no,
Like,
because
he's
I'm
gonna go.
No,
So-
because you presented something,
Yeah.
and you don't want to stand by your claim, and I'm trying to.
I am standing by my
It's
claim.
illogical to me your claim.
Okay,
And
that's
why I'm
your
trying to-
opinion, my friend.
No, because we speak in English language and we so
Okay,
human. We listen
right.
carefully. I give respect of to what you're saying.
I understand. If you disagree with me, tell me later when I've had a lovely conversation with this
that's
gentleman.
good, yeah. Please, brother.
That
but
way.
he's gonna go. He presented the point.
That's why when I chat with him now, if he's going to go soon.
Shall we?
Okay, you can come back to me and you can tell me your point afterwards, yeah? I promise you I'll listen to your point.
I just want to present the point
Let's ask a
that
question.
Mark, to say Mark is, because the point is Mark did not quote Isaiah. It's all pontifying
okay, yeah.
and conjecture. There's no evidence.
What do you want?
That's
You
my
got that?
point.
Yeah,
That's no evidence.
I think that was
Right.
the initial
what's your
discussion.
Okay, thank you.
What's
Let's,
your question?
okay, so what do you think the Quran is perfectly preserved textually?
Happy you was going to ask this question. I was waiting for this. Like,
yeah, it's-
so what do you mean by perfect preservation?
Of the text. So you have the exact same text in terms of what was revealed to Muhammad. That has been preserved textually since it was written down, and there's been no changes, no additions, no subtractions, and so on.
Before Rasulullah sallallahu. Okay, and that goes back to my. I'm going to answer this. A good point, actually. The last point. That goes back to my initial understanding of corruption being an additional omission by someone other than the author. Because we know in the Quran, for example, in chapter 2, verse 106, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what? He tells yeah, exactly. SubhanAllah, abrogation. So we've already established the principle of abrogation. This is fine. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose, there's different types of abrogation, but to keep it simple, abrogate it from the text, right? We know very clearly that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to abrogate something from the text, this would not be corruption because the author himself, according to our belief, which is given in the time, whatever, It's Allah, so he can do that. That's not corruption. However, if it's the case that, for example, Ibn Mas'ud or Ubay bin Ka'b, which I know your arguments about those people is, which I'm happy to go into as well. If they was, for example, to corrupt it or whatever, then this would be corruption, absolutely. If you want to talk about Ubay bin Ka'b or Ibn Mas'ud, we can talk about that as well.
Okay, are they valid Qurans? Ubay ibn Ka'b's codex and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's codex?
Hands on codex, right? Codices.
Well, they held
mean
it.
by valid
If it's a
codices?
codex, it's a written Quran, right?
It's a Mus'haf, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Mus'haf containing the Quran.
Physical, yeah. No problem. Yeah, that's fine. So what do you mean by, is it valid, sorry?
Is it a Quran?
Is it a Quran?
Yeah.
Of course.
It is a Quran, even though there are differences in them.
It's not. Okay. That's the point. We're going to tell you why. So when we have Ibn Mas'ud, make your case about Ibn Mas'ud, then we can talk about Ubay bin Ka'b. Because
Alright.
Ibn Mas'ud, you're going to say he rejected the Fatiha and the last two surahs.
So Nas, yeah.
Surah An-Nas, I think Ikhlas is your point, is all you say, right? And then Fatiha.
No, class is 112, right?
An-Nas,
Nas is
Al-Fatiha
114.
and Surah
Yeah, it's 113. I can't remember the name, 113, but it's 113.
Now?
Nas is 114.
Yeah,
So
no,
Nas,
Nas is
the
14
one
of
before
course.
that, and then Surah Fatiha.
And Fatiha as well.
Yeah.
Based off of what?
Based off of what? Based off there are Muslim writings that talk about how Abdullah ibn Mas'ud had a different codex.
Such as?
Um,
We can know about
I
the Suyuti.
can't tell you
Do want to know
I
about Suyuti?
can't.
can tell
So I think Al-Tabari had in his writings.
Tabari?
Yeah, Al-Tabari.
you. Where in his writings?
Not in his tafsir, but in his history of Al-Tabari.
Yeah, well, I know.
I can't tell you chapter and verse, but history of
Can I
Al-Tabari.
give the reference?
Also, I'm not sure if history of
Okay,
Al-Tabari
I
is
can
like
mention-
fully translated
okay.
from Arabic.
No, I think there's a small portion of it
Small
translated,
portion,
but I don't
yeah,
think the
yeah.
entirety. Same with Fath
Yeah.
al-Bari by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I'm valid in asking for evidence for this claim, right?
I'll
Ibn
quote
Mas'ud,
scholars, by the way. I can quote scholars.
as?
Gabriel Reynolds, for example.
Gabriel Reynolds, who the hell is it? I'm talking
Gabriel Reynolds?
With all due respect, when we talk about our authorities, we're not going to some random American dude
Dr.
called Gabriel
Haytham
Reynolds.
Sidki.
No, okay, Haytham Sidki. Regarding Ibn Mas'ud,
Yeah.
show me what he says in Mas'ud.
Well, I'm just saying, if you
No, show me what Haytham Sidki
what I'm
says
saying
in
is
Mas'ud.
there
I've
are
studied Haytham Sidki.
okay.
I know
Would
what he
Haytham
says.
Sidki agree or disagree with what I'm saying?
You need to bring the evidence he agrees.
Okay, I'm telling you he would do. I'm telling you he would do.
I've seen multiple
Yeah.
works, and I've read
Yeah.
also in academia.
So
it's published
Dr. Haytham
a paper. Where does
Sidki
Haytham
looks
Sidki
into
make
the transitions of certain
of the
qira'ats.
text, and he talks,
Yeah.
the qira'at.
Right. So he
Yeah.
also is familiar of other transmission variants.
And he-
So, for example, the ones from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud.
Can we move on to-
So, for example, Surah 5, ayah 98. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Which one do you-
true. Never mind, it's fine. Okay,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on.
But my point
let's
is that
stick
they're
to
aware of
Ibn
these
Mas'ud.
things. We can
Ibn
quote other
Mas'ud-
scholars if you want.
No, but Ibn Mas'ud's important.
Yeah.
Why? So Ibn Mas'ud, according to you, rejected Al-Fatiha
Yeah.
and Nas and Surah
Yeah.
Surah
As
113,
not actual
right?
of the Quran, but as dua,
so,
as
he rejected it as
supplementation.
the Quran. You appeal to Haytham Sidki as an example.
Yeah, I
Give
can
me a
do all
reference
this
for
as well.
Haytham Sidki where he says
I don't
that.
need to.
You don't need to? Of
course I don't.
Okay.
What do I need to know? The book?
No.
The verse?
Tell me where he says it.
What do you want me to do?
I'm telling you.
Okay,
let me
I'll give
explain-
you
let me
another
explain-
scholar.
No, let me just
I'll give you
explain
another
why-
scholar.
no,
Dr.
don't
Shady
do that.
Nasser.
Let's
That's
stick to
another
this.
scholar.
Shady Nasser. Wallahi al-Azim, this
Okay,
is
so that's
embarrassing.
two-
I'm gonna
that's
go to him.
two-
No.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Dr.
go to him.
Yasser Qadi. How about him? You don't like him?
Yasser Qadi.
So that's three.
Yasser Qadi, for starters,
Okay,
he's deemed
so
a heretic.
Sean
For
W. Anthony.
starters.
Sean
Yasser
W.
Qadi
Anthony.
is not an authority in
Sean
Aqidah.
W. Anthony wrote a
In,
paper
uh,
about
in-
this specific topic.
Ibn Mas'ud rejected the
Ibn Mas'ud. So here's the point. Ibn Mas'ud.
Wait.
No.
Okay, let me just
No,
answer
I'm
you.
not finished.
I want to answer you. I want to answer you.
No.
Sean
Answer
W.
what?
Anthony wrote a paper explicitly talking about how the early
I know Sean
Ummah,
Anthony.
the early community of Islam, used to take the additional surahs, this is the additional ones, not Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, but he talked about
Ka'b, right?
Ubay ibn
let's-
Ka'b.
we can
He
move on
talked
to him, but
that
let's
they
move
took them as authoritative and used
With all
in
due
prayers
respect,
at the
we're moving
mosque.
to Ubay bin Ka'b. Let's deal with Ibn Mas'ud,
Yeah.
because Ubay bin Ka'b, the claim is different. The claim is that he added two extra surahs.
Well,
which
yeah.
easy
It's all to do with
but
textual
let's-
corruption.
Yeah, that's fine. But Ubay bin Ka'b's case is different, right? We can explain it as, I'm sure you already know the explanations. For example, and we have authentic hadith as well, in which it tells us that those two which you claim to be surahs was actually just du'at from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we can get to Ubay bin Ka'b and that quote-unquote
Yeah,
extra
but there was
surahs.
difference in
But
opinion.
First of all, yeah, no, it's no problem if you can provide that, that's fine. But I'm telling you, we have the authentic hadith. With all due respect, if you're going to say to me we have a difference of opinion, I'm going to say no. If we're talking about an Islamic position, we have an authentic hadith which directly tells us, with all due respect, your opinion or whatever scholars is out the window.
Wait, what? So you're going to take Sunnah, which has its own problems.
Sunnah, yeah.
Sunnah over scholars.
Okay, if it comes to Islam, if you're going to quote someone like Yasser Qadi, who's a
Yes.
heretic, by the way, not an authority
Does
in this matter,
he study?
who's not an authority.
Does he have a PhD? Is he in
In what?
academia?
What does he have a PhD
Is he
in?
in academia?
A PhD in what?
Did he not peer
A PhD
review
in what?
Dr.
A
Daniel
PhD
Brubaker?
A PhD in what?
Islamic studies.
What's he got? And he's got a PhD in Islamic studies.
I believe so.
You believe so?
Yeah.
I believe you spoke to Muhammad Hijab. Which one? I believe you got that wrong. Or who else
Maybe,
was
I don't
it?
know.
No, I think you mentioned this point to Muhammad Hijab before, and I believe that you
Oh,
looked
what
at
peer
it.
review Daniel
No.
Brubaker?
The
Yeah, he
peer
does.
review agreed upon because Daniel Brubaker,
yeah,
and it's
he
not
did.
just him, it's also also
They go to the same university, I
Haytham
think.
Sidki, yeah, they respond
Yeah,
to.
he teaches there.
Daniel Brubeck
Yeah.
has been responded to by Haytham
I'm not
Sidki,
making
right?
I'm not making his
No, no,
point.
I know.
I'm just saying it's a reference to the fact that he's in
You know,
scholarship.
they've been
Yeah.
Daniel Brubeck made a book or whatever. It's been responded to by many
Yeah,
people.
by
right?
an academic called
Yeah,
Dr. Yasser
Haytham
Qadi
Sidki.
about textual corruption.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean just because
Right.
he wrote a peer review, it doesn't mean he's an academic. He's an authority to us Muslims in this.
But he's
We know
literally
he
peer
made many
reviewing
mistakes.
about textual corruption.
That doesn't mean he's an authority. Okay, I can
what?
make a peer review. Anyone can make a peer review.
Wait, if you're a university and you're teaching,
University for what? For what?
I believe it's Islamic
What's your
studies.
evidence? As far
Should
as
we go
if I
Google
recall-
it? Should we go
if I recall
Google it?
correctly, when you spoke
This
to
is
Muhammad
so
Tijani about
pointless,
this,
man.
But the point is, Ibn Mas'ud, where's the reference is the point? Because my
And that's
issue
what
is
the claim was to charge against the Quran.
Ibn Mas'ud, according to you, rejected Al-Fatiha. He rejected Al-Nas and the 113.
So if we reject,
No, but where's the evidence? No, but Akhi, the important thing is because we know that Ibn Mas'ud went through. Ibn Mas'ud went through with
Trying to find it.
he was an authority. Why? Because there's chains of.
Oh, shut up, GBT. No, I'm old school.
This is a problem, but we don't accept it as the
you
truth.
can take
though,
an
so-
Concord approach and show the argument out.
No.
The Prophet is the one that received the Quran. He's the Prophet. Ibn
Look,
Mas'ud is-
listen, Chris.
It just says he
You know what-
Yale University, where he got his masters and PhD.
So
It doesn't go into detail about what it
I'm not
is,
going to
but
press you on that 'cause it's
Okay.
already- that's fine. I
Yeah,
don't
but my
mind
point
saying
is
you
that
made
he is a
mistakes, that's fine.
valid person to bring up.
No.
You don't have any reason for that. You have no reason for that at all. At all.
What does it indicate a different Quran? I'm trying to understand what's charged.
His claim is that,
Yeah.
that Ibn Mas'ud rejected I've said it multiple times, Al-Fatiha,
Yeah.
and Nas, and
Yes.
113
Yeah,
Surah
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
One of your evidences for this, I don't mind moving on, but I want to press you on this point. He mentioned Haytham Sidki. I've read
Yeah.
Haytham Sidki's on Academia, his published work, right? Regarding the
Yeah.
Quran, also response to Daniel Brubaker. He also has multiple multiple videos explaining it, right? You've watched them. So I want to know, where does Haytham Sidki say that Ibn Mas'ud rejected these 3 surahs of the Quran? Please, that's all. If you accept he doesn't say that, we'll
listen to
move
me.
on.
I am talking about Dr. Haytham Sidki as a person. He is aware of the classical Islamic sources, which I believe, I already gave you one, Al-Tabari, the history of
Wait,
Al-Tabari,
in-
mentions the fact that there is known to be variants in the surahs that are recited by Abdullah ibn Masud. We even know this. We know the whole story about this. We know that Uthman had a problem with Abdullah ibn Masud. There's even a whole Shia tradition about it. Come on. Yeah, but my point is that
authority to us.
I'm not saying it has to be. What I'm saying though is that it's a known
Also, Ibn
tradition.
Mas'ud, I think he means Zayd bin Thabit. Zayd bin Thabit himself, or Ibn Mas'ud actually had issues with Zayd bin
Thabit
Thabit.
is
It's
a
not. I don't
legal
think it's.
No,
I don't think-
Uthman had issues with Abdullah ibn Masud because Abdullah ibn Masud's codex was still being used in Basra, in Kufa.
Just, the issue with that.
Right,
it
so you
wasn't
know
that-
this.
No, you misunderstood. I'm going to say no. 1 second. The issue was what?
Oh, no, what's
that
the
Ibn
variant? What is
Mas'ud
charged?
was jealous of Zayd bin Thabit. He was, right?
I
We
don't
know
know.
That's the truth. You misunderstood with Uthman bin Affan and Zayd bin Thabit and Ibn Mas'ud. You mixed the names up. It's not that. Ibn Mas'ud was
mixing the
jealous of Zayd bin Thabit. Why? Because Uthman bin Affan chose Zayd bin Thabit to head the committee when compiling the Quran after Umar ibn Khattab.
Yeah,
it
I'm not
wasn't-
talking about that,
Yeah, it's
though.
right. It wasn't.
No, I am talking about specifically Uthman had issue with Abdullah ibn Masud.
He didn't have an issue.
Because Abdullah, did Uthman not command that any other Quran other than his be destroyed?
No problem. And this-
Right,
this-
was Abdullah
I'm
ibn
gonna tell
Masud
you
a
why
different
I'm gonna tell
Quran?
you-
Let me explain yourself first.
I'm going to tell you why that doesn't work for you, right?
Because after they don't know what they're speaking about. Like,
The reason that doesn't work for you is because do you know about the 10 qira'ats, right?
They hear
Yeah.
something.
According to our
Something
tradition,
gonna
whether you
focus on
accept
the photo, they don't know what they're
according to our
talking
tradition,
about.
we have 10
So let's
qira'ats,
investigate
yeah?
that before.
Where's it said that in the Sunnah?
I'm going to tell you what.
Where's it said that in the Sunnah?
Yeah, just 1 second.
Doesn't say.
Don't.
it.
So now you speak to them. You want to give them
Do
answer.
you know what the qira'ats are?
Yeah.
This is, we're going to go into what the qira'ats and ahruf are. This is going to be too long, realistically. We believe just summarize.
Well, you don't know what the
We
ahruf
believe-
is.
No,
It's
no,
lost.
No. The ahruf?
Yeah.
No. Just 1 second. We know. So the
Show me where.
ahruf, I'm going to tell you, but I don't want to divert from. Okay, I'm going to answer you. I don't
He doesn't
mind.
know.
Oh no,
I
what's the
don't wanna
variant?
dive-
What's the variant though? You want to know what you're telling me?
Doesn't know.
I don't know what's the variant.
I don't mind answering you, but I don't want to deviate from Ibn Mas'ud allegedly rejecting the Quran. That's a very big claim. I want
Well,
to
he also
reject.
had changes in his
About
Quran.
the Quran. No, such as.
Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 98.
Okay,
Oh, 89, I think. Let me check.
Okay, first of all, this has been ascribed
Ibn
to a
Kathir.
manuscript.
Ibn Kathir.
Where's the
in his
where's
tafsir.
his evidence?
Ibn Kathir in his tafsir wrote about how it was known that both in Ubay ibn Ka'b and Abdullah ibn Masud they had a variant of Surah
I'm gonna
Al-Ma'idah,
explain.
ayah 89 I believe
No,
it
can I just
is,
explain
where
to
he
you?
has a different word in Arabic in his Quran.
Chris, I'm just going to explain to you. In Islam, you can appeal to a scholar, a great scholar, for example, right? Like At-Tabari, Ibn Kathir. But if it's the case that At-Tabari or Ibn Kathir or Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, for example, any imam, any mufassir from the mufassirin, whether he's the mufassir of the mufassirin, like At-Tabari, right? The commentator of the commentators, right? Such a big. If he makes a claim, وما عنده that he has no evidence, we don't have to accept that. And this is, you can bring the biggest scholar to us. We don't. Even if it's the case, for example, I don't give an example because I don't need to use this as an argument against some random Muslim who doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not going to use that as an example. But the fact is, we don't have to, unless they have evidence. We're not just one way. We don't just say the non-Muslims have to bring dalil. No, we say the Muslim scholars themselves, the shayukh themselves have to bring the dalil. Ma indum dalil, we don't accept. If they have no dalil, we don't accept. The same for Ibn Kathir. So if Ibn Kathir, regarding Islamic, if he has an Islamic reference, sir, I'm going to ask you now. You mentioned Al-Tabari. No, please, just wait. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to let you speak, right? And I do have to go soon. We have to wrap this up. You mentioned so far Haytham Sidki, Al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir.
Sean W. Anthony,
simple
Shady
question.
Nasser.
It's very fair. With all due respect, Shady Nasser, yani,
You don't like
I don't
him?
even want to insult him.
University of
He's
Harvard.
stupid.
University
His
of Harvard.
argument's so bad.
Yeah, but that's an ad hominem. You're saying that because like there's some defect in his personality, he's stupid,
It's not his
therefore his
personality,
argument
it's
is
his
wrong. That's an ad
argument.
hominem.
It's his argument which demonstrates stupidity, right? Here's the question. You mentioned Haytham Sidki, which to me is more of a... I've read his works, right? Haytham Sidki... I've
Many
looked
Muslims
into
like
his-
Haytham Sidki.
No, but I'm not gonna say he agrees with everything. I'm gonna be fair. Like, I'm not gonna be one way completely.
Yeah, I'm not explaining. My point is that you can't discredit him
No,
and be like,
I agree. I
because
just told you I
quote,
like Haytham Sidki, right? I'm not
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
discredit
Sean
him.
W. Anthony.
John Anthony's got
Who-
some good works on like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Right, according to
historically,
him, the early communities accepted Surah 115, 116 based off early Islamic sources. He goes into them in an academic paper. Go on academia.ac.uk, find his work.
I keep hearing you
Who's
say...
the prophet? Is it Ibn Masud?
Brother, you can't expect me to just carry like academic papers with me and just bring them out like this. If I tell you what it is, you can find it
When
on
I
your
spoke
phone.
with you about when I quoted the
It's on camera. People can check what I'm saying.
Scott, that's fine. They can come what I said. When I quoted you about for example, author of scripture saying this is scripture, whatever. I
Yes.
gave the reference. I'm fine. I didn't. You can go to your phone. I didn't go to mine. I memorized it. That's fine. You can go to your phone. I'm not saying.
Well, you know his
can-
argument though.
I'm
You
just
know
saying-
the argument.
No, I know his argument.
We
My
refuted
point
many
is
times.
Your app would have come in handy.
No, but
if you
people
had all
refuted
this
the argument. We
in
know we heard before.
Yes.
Regarding
They
this,
would.
Well, you know
I'm
what
gonna
is been said about Ibn Abbas. You know.
I'm gonna answer you any. Okay, look, I'm
So
I'm
wait,
gonna
wait,
answer
just to
your
add a bit more
objection about-
context. So this variant, and it is a variant that is known by the scholars of fiqh.
I wanna
There is.
talk
Let me
about it first. I
explain.
wanna talk about
I know.
it
Let me
first.
What is the
explain.
variant? That's what I wanna know.
Okay, Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 89, I
about-
believe.
okay,
I need to check that's the right one.
Just give me one
But
second.
wait.
I wanna talk
Let
about
me
it
explain
first.
it first, though,
Let's
and let me
explain
land,
the
and then you can
problem.
answer. Okay, in the schools of fiqh, the Maliki school and the Shafi school have difference of interpretation than the Hanbali school and the Hanafi school over what the actual Arabic is and what you should follow.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Let me explain.
No, the Hanbali method.
Let me explain. And you can read this. You can read this very basic stuff. The Hanafi and the Hanbali hold to a different view. What they say is it is known that in Abdullah ibn Masud's codex, there is a variant in the Arabic where there's an additional Arabic word where the word consecutively in Arabic is written. They then draw on this for legal rulings
What is that
regarding
word?
Sharia. Sharia. This is legal rulings regarding Sharia. They then use this to apply in
Elaborate.
terms of
What is
what
that
you
word?
do
I'm weird.
when you break your oath. When you break your oath in Islam, the Quran is clear what you do. It sets out criteria. It says, okay, so first of all, you have to feed so many people. If you can't afford that, you free a slave. If you can't afford that, and it goes through this list, and then it goes to, and if you can't do all these things, then you are to fast for 3 days. But, and if you look at like the Quran today, or any of the 10 Qur'an today, to my knowledge, it just says fast 3 days. But in Abdullah ibn Masud's codex, he had fast for 3 consecutive days, an additional Arabic word. Scholars are agreed on this. This is not a controversial issue. And for that reason, we are confident that there are, at least in some sense, multiple Qurans. There is Abdullah ibn Masud's. Oh, by the way, Ubay ibn Ka'b apparently had the same thing. So it's both those two. Ubay ibn Ka'b apparently also had this extra word in his codex.
Yeah.
So there's variances in codexes about the companions who memorize the Quran. There's multiple
On a
Qurans.
response.
There we go, I've landed.
First of all, we say that there is one Quran and multiple qira'at. One Quran and multiple readings of this Quran. Now you just appealed to Surah Al-Ma'idah, right? There's so many things you said wrong, but I'm going to go one by one. Surah Al-Ma'idah, you said that 2 of the readers, Mas'ud and Ubay bin Ka'b, they read it differently. First of all, we believe in 10 different qira'at which have different readings. This reading is valid. I know what you're talking about because I've heard this argument before.
I don't believe this is the Quran.
No. It was one of the qira'at.
Can you
that
show
say
me?
that. No.
Can you show me?
I'll tell you why. No. I know why. I'll tell you how I know. Because I was in a discussion and debate with a Christian prior to this a while ago. They bring different of the qira'at to bring this argument actually. They say, oh, these qira'at says
I don't think this is Quran. Can you show me?
Al-Ma'idah is. But
No, I know, Surah Al-Ma'idah is a whole chapter.
what is
I'm
the
talking about
problem?
Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 89.
Ayah 89, which gives the ruling
Yes.
of what if you break an oath, basically.
Yes.
How do you? What's the word? Like if you break an oath, you.
Yeah, if you have to do,
redeem.
you
What's
do
the word?
recompense or something like
Something
that.
like
I don't know
this.
what I'm not
You
quoting
try
Arabic,
and
but-
yeah, seek forgiveness.
yeah, you do certain things, right.
So, but the problem is for me, I want to address.
I don't believe that is part of the Quran.
We can discuss that.
But
more.
that's not
You
the
have
problem
my.
why you
I wanted
explain
to.
that.
Okay,
I
we'll
looked
speak
into it, I
of your
couldn't
email,
find it.
email you.
So what's
I
the
couldn't
difference
find
from
it.
Ibn Masud? I don't get what you explain. I don't.
Okay, my point is there's different Arabic
Qurans.
Qurans.
I haven't finished
But
responding, but he made multiple points. Yeah, I did let
No,
him
but
speak.
the answer that I don't hear what the problem is.
In a nutshell, what is the point?
I got
What
your
you're
point.
trying to say?
Okay.
There's multiple Arabic
Brother,
Qurans,
let me explain.
according to the
You're saying
companions.
there's multiple
Yeah, if you
Arabic
made the
Qurans.
point.
According to the companions.
So you believe that Allah revealed a Quran to Ibn Masud, and Ibn Masud is a prophet, and he revealed one to
Well, I
Prophet.
don't believe Allah revealed any of this.
Please,
So-
just hear me for a
so- so-
second
so-
of this. First of all.
Akhi, you don't want, okay, he made 5 points. I don't want some Muslim to hear.
I don't
one
understand
point
all
and not
these
be able
different
to answer
Quran,
it. I
but
want to
we
be
know
able to
there's one
answer it.
Prophet
Haram.
Muhammad,
It's
his
not-
name.
No, it's only fair that I answer because if a Muslim
yeah,
hears it and they get a
yeah,
doubt or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
it's not fair, and then I'll get the sin for it as well.
Go,
I have
go,
to speak.
go.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
So
I'm
he's
joining
saying there's
Lord Jesus
multiple Qurans.
Christ.
So
But he's
you-
not showing the way the problem is. I don't hear no problem. Like I don't get like.
He said there's
Just tell
different,
me.
different readings, different.
But I want other people. Listen. First of all, I disagree with the point on the four madahib. I think you misunderstood. You don't know. With all due respect, I don't think you understand the four madahib. I'll tell you why. When it comes to interpretive matters, for example, talking about Ibn Mas'ud, and if he, like, for example,
His commentary.
if he had a different reading of Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 89, you said, I believe.
I believe it is, yeah. Let me
no
go
problem,
check that
that's
just to
fine.
make sure I got it
I
right.
can say 89. It's
Not
the
different
point.
reading, different understanding.
No,
When
but
you
he's
read his
saying-
Quran, you read the scholar says you read is some commentary or certain stuff on it. That's what happens.
I haven't got too long, but I'm going to finish.
Along with the Musaf. But how does that make it a different Quran from what Allah revealed to Prophet Muhammad? That's what I'm trying to
Because there's a
understand.
different Arabic word.
Because we know what the actual Quran is. It was inside also the daughter
Chris, I'm gonna leave him to speak to you, but I want
Yeah,
to finish
but
our
don't get me
discussion. I
right.
want to me speak, you speak, and then me speak because I don't want to just leave it midway. It's not good. Okay. First of all, the four madahib, when they talk about fiqh. Okay, they talk about a ruling for this. They're not going to talk about Ibn Mas'ud, like this example, or rejecting Al-Fatiha and the last two surahs in the Quran, like An-Nas and Surah 113. They're not going. This isn't something they go into, right? Maybe scholars from within the four madahib, right? They independently talk about it, but to represent a madhab, like the madhab of Abu Hanifa, for example, or Imam Malik, or Imam al-Shafi'i, or Ahmad ibn Hanbal, for example, right? This is not something they go into. This is not something they would dispute the madhab just because of whether, for example, Mas'ud rejected surah.
No, my point is that there are different madhabs.
This is not
Wait.
something the madhab go into. They
There-
study fiqh, not whether Ibn Mas'ud rejected a surah or something.
No. The idea is that it is known that there was an additional Arabic word in Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ubay ibn Ka'b's codexes that changed the legal ruling. So two schools don't accept that. They say, no, we don't accept that. We say that you can fast on different days. You can fast on Monday, then Wednesday, then Friday. It doesn't have to be consecutive.
That's interpretation of a verse then.
Yeah,
Interpretation.
Yes, based on,
That's not actual Quran then.
based on the Arabic they have today, it doesn't have the word consecutive. But the other two schools today say that no, you do it consecutively, and you can find
I think
this
this is a
online.
very good thing
But
for-
because they are aware of the additional word in those two codexes.
Chris, I think this is
In
definitely
Arabic.
an important point about chapter 5 verse 89, whether it's one part
It is
of the
89, by the way,
Qur'an.
that's right.
No problem. I will, it's 89.
Do you want me to
no problem.
quote to you what
I
Ibn
think it's
Kathir says?
important.
Let me see
It goes
that.
back to the same principle that I said. We accept that what the fuqaha say, or the mufassirin say, if they have a dalil, if they have an evidence. If they don't bring an evidence, that's to me, that's not an authority. So what I'm going to ask you is this, because I don't want to go too much astray. I want to stick to Al-Fatiha and Ibn Mas'ud and his codex rejecting them, where he rejected and he made it very clear he rejected them. Now, if you take a look at, you didn't have a reference, like a reference on hand. I'm not going to press you on that. I'm going to grant you no problem, because I know what you're talking about, right? As-Suyuti's book, Imam As-Suyuti, right? He has a book talking about this. He gives different positions regarding Mas'ud. But whether this position is valid to begin with, that he even says that he rejected it, I've not seen the evidence for that. But As-Suyuti addresses it, right? Now, Muhammad Hijab, when you spoke about this topic, he gave you a view. I personally don't agree with his view.
What, the
He
roots?
told,
Wait,
no,
of
Ibn
what?
Mas'ud.
Oh,
So, because you spoke, I personally disagree with him, but it's a valid view. It is something which As-Suyuti explained, right? Now, this view says that Ibn Mas'ud, prior, he held this view, and then he later repented for this, right? And there is multiple evidence for this, but the evidence I'm about to bring for this doesn't support just this view, multiple views, right? But I have to be fair and present the views, even I may disagree with it, whatever. So this view says, the evidence for this would be, we have from the 10 qira'ats, right? Now we have chains for them, right? Now in 4 out of these 10 chains, it goes through who? according to, like you're talking from our paradigm, but
Can you line
according to
quickly,
us-
'cause you've said a lot here.
According to us, 4 of these 10 qira'at, Mas'ud narrates them to his students. All of these qira'at include An-Nas, Surah 113, and Al-Fatiha. So this shows, this would be an evidence that some scholars may use to support what Muhammad Hijab told you. There's another position which says, no, there's no evidence that he even said this, right? Now I hold to the view of neutral. I don't mind either view. But I personally don't, I need to see the evidence even from the scholars and from Haytham Sidki that he said this. I want to know this position that he rejected this. That's
Okay,
basically
what?
it.
Okay,
It's very heavy.
yeah, there's a lot of things to go through.
Yeah.
Okay, so my issue here is that ultimately some companions of Muhammad, the Sahaba, had different understandings as to what the Quran was.
What do you mean? No. They understand that the Quran was that which was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu. Okay, when
Right.
you say, okay, if that's what you mean, then no, that's false because they all understood it was revealed by by Allah subhanahu wa taala, through Jibreel, to Muhammad sallallahu. They all understand this.
They may have eventually,
Sorry,
they may have eventually, but they certainly didn't.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
They all would may have eventually came to that idea.
But that's the
that's
thing.
not-
that-
So what do
you- but that's what the verse
evidence-
meant.
Oh, by the way, the Qira'at are not mutawatir.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say the
Marin
approach
van
of
Putten?
Haytham Sidki, which
No, Marin van Putten. Marin van Putten quotes Al-Jazari.
No,
He
Marin
quotes
van
his Arabic.
Putin's, he's studied this topic. Marin van
Yes,
Putten, but I mean,
he's literally
I don't need
paid
you to go that
millions to
far.
do this.
For me, I can go as far as say Haytham Sidki understands this and yeah.
Well, he quotes Al-Jazari.
Yeah, Marin van Putten, he does mention this stuff. Van Putten.
Yeah.
He mentions how 7 of the 10, according to his standards, would be, and he goes on further as well, but it's a big topic. But he says, to summarize his position of Van Putten, he says that 7 of them are mutawatir. He says there's 3 that are not mutawatir.
No.
Can you bring
That's a
that up where he says all
misconception.
10?
Well, if you go
I
on
know
his
you're
if
talking
you
about
go
when
on
he
his
responds
blog,
to the claim on Twitter. he
Marin
says-
van Putten's blog, he has an article about this where he translates Al-Jazari, who in the 15th century expanded the canon of acceptable qira'at from 7 to 10, and he gives his criteria, and he does not include
It's in
mutawatir as
Twitter
part
as
of the
well.
criteria.
It's in Twitter.
Yeah, it's in Twitter
Who,
as well.
sorry?
It does not include mutawatir as one of the criteria.
Who, sorry?
Al-Jazari,
Which is in what?
in his works. I can give you the name of it if you go on his
Like
thing.
from where?
What do you mean?
From where?
From 15th century, Al-Jazari.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's enough to say. Like, what the hell, 15th century? I'm going to go to.
He's the guy who expanded it from 7 to 10. He's the guy who accepted as a canon that the old one by Ibn Mujahid in the 10th, Mujahid in the 9th to 10th century.
Mujahid. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
If you
but
take
then
the-
later, the 15th century, Al-Jazari expands it from 7 to 10. And Al-Jazari's like, yes, not mutawatir. He said he used to hold that opinion, but then he asked for forgiveness. He repented of that opinion because he says the more correct opinion is that it's not mutawatir.
That's fine. Just one second.
Okay, so Qira'at is not mutawatir according to
No,
Al-Jazari.
just one second. First of all, him saying that it's not a condition that it's mutawatir, if he even said that, first of all, I've not seen the reference for that, right?
Joe, he does.
But,
Check out his blog.
Yeah, I know. He says, I know he responds to the claim that because Muslims appeal to Van Putten a lot,
Yep.
they used to, and he responds to it. That's
very
fine.
credible
But
academic.
this claim is, I'm not
Yeah.
disputing his knowledge at all.
Good.
Do I agree with everything? No.
Yeah, that's fine, that's
Likewise,
fine.
Haytham Sidki, do I agree with everything?
Yeah,
even though I
absolutely
like
fine.
him.
But he
no,
is a
I
credible
don't.
scholar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also the same for
as
Shady
the
Nasser.
reference for there, yeah, except for Shady Nasser. Shady Nasser
You
is
don't
not
like Shady
credible.
Nasser.
But no.
Too shady.
But, yeah, too shady for my liking. But listen, on a serious note though, this thing would go back even to him. I'd have to see the reference. I'd have to see the evidence for that. Now, him saying that it's not a condition, right? Which we understand that when we look and study this as well, the Quran and the study in the history of the Quran, we know it's a condition, right? That when we're
don't
taught
know,
about this,
that's the very thing that's in question.
I know. It's fine. But what I'm saying is that it's clear. That doesn't negate the fact that it is mutawatir. Saying that it's not, for example,
What
we
is-
accept. No, it's just an example. We can accept hadith, right? We Muslims accept hadith, for example. If the chain is like ahad, if it's one chain, we can say to accept a hadith, it's not a condition that it has to be mutawatir. Does this now mean that we have no hadith as a mutawatir? No, it's a non sequitur. It doesn't follow from
Yeah,
that, right?
that's fine, yeah.
But the main thing is this, right? Because this is a bit like of the point. It's a good question to ask, but I want to first deal with Ibn Mas'ud because that's fine. So Ibn Mas'ud, there's just two positions basically. One
Before you
is
do
negating
this, do you concede that, as far as you know, Al-Jazari does indeed say it's not
I've not seen
mutawatir?
evidence.
No, I'm saying that
Hey,
based
sorry,
on what I'm
repeat
saying.
what you
If what I'm saying is true, and you go and you find Marin van Putten who quotes his work, then Al-Jazari's opinion
No, it's not
is
that
that he
easy.
did not accept
So
mutawatir.
first of all, it's not that easy. I'll tell you why. When we take a look at studying the scholars, right, Islamic scholars, even if we take a look at like Muslim scholars, right, like Imam Bukhari, for example, he doesn't just write as his Sahih, right?
Yeah, he wrote lots of them.
Khalq Af'al al-Ibad, for example, right, the created actions of the servants, whatever, right? So this book, for example, and many other books as well by other scholars, we don't just look at a quotation from that. It's so in depth. It's so in depth. You look at the manuscripts of this scholar, right? What are the manuscripts, even of a scholar, right? Like Imam al-Bukhari, for example, right? Or al-Bayhaqi, or any of these scholars, right? Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, Abu Hassan al-Ashari. So if he's going for that and using a manuscript, we have to look at more than that. We cannot just take his word. We have to look at the manuscript, verify it. This job is way too big. Even for me, it's too big. This is why we have scholars who specifically don't go to these scholars, these Western academia as our authority, right? Do they make points?
I see. Okay, but they're not your authority, but they are my authority.
If it's something, huh?
They will be mine when I look into
Your
Islam.
authority.
Yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
are you trying to convince me of your position?
Well, what I'm saying is that I
Yes,
would
you
appeal
are,
to
but
scholarship,
Exactly,
right?
that's the problem. You didn't answer that. Are you
Wait,
trying
what
to
do you
convince me
mean?
of your position?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're trying to convince me of your position by using evidences you know I don't accept. I'm sorry, but you're not doing good so
Yeah.
far.
Well, no. My point is that you're
It's
wrong.
like me
You're
using the
wrong to
heretic. It's like
reject
me
it.
using the Quran to convince.
Put it on my ear. My point is that if you reject scholarship, I don't know where to go.
Okay, but
I really don't want to
no,
go.
but scholarship.
We're using only
Do you
Western.
reject scholarship?
No, what do you
We're
mean?
using
scholarship?
only-
Or is it just Western scholarship?
No, I
Is it
think
just Western?
scholarship is a very subjective
But you're not
term.
using our scholarship.
You see, my point is if you are basically going to say, right, I don't like the Western scholarship,
I'll
I'm
tell
like,
you
well, there you
one
are then.
example. When I
You
make
won't
an
even look at the
argument
evidence.
against you, right? I may use a scholar if I know the evidence. I wouldn't just use a scholar randomly and say this is the position, but I would use a scholar with the evidence. If the scholar's basing this opinion off, concluding it off of Eusebius, for example, I will go to Eusebius's work, like for example about the Papers, Book 3, Chapter 39, right, where Mark's a bearer of Peter or whatever. I will go to Eusebius's work directly. Eusebius's works, it's not rarely disputed. I mean, there's some people who dispute it, but that to me is like a bit critical. I don't like that approach. But generally it's accepted. So I'll go to that text, right? So likewise, when we're talking about this, do I accept academia? If it's something which is verifiable, that I myself can go to and I can verify, and we can look at the Muslim scholars as well, historically, not a 20th century Muslim scholar or Christian scholar or whatever academic. No, we have to look at our traditions, right?
Right, but what if a scholar comments on your traditions? Can you accept his view?
Depends, okay. Do I accept that he has the view? Yeah, but do I agree with the view? No.
No, but can you?
What do you mean?
Say, for example, Marin van Putten translates Al-Jazari and he shows you it and he says, look, Al-Jazari never said mutawata, or at least not in his later
Yeah,
life.
that's a good point. That's a good
Will you
point.
accept that?
That's a really good question.
Okay.
So if he translates a work from an Arabic scholar, for example, and he says,
Say what he
this
said
scholar
about,
says this, would I accept it?
Yeah.
There's multiple things. It goes back to the
Because you don't understand
I
the
have to
final
verify the
content.
manuscripts in totality. Did this scholar really, does
Well,
this work say
there
that? Or
are-
is he appealing to one manuscript? Because even when we're discussing Aqidah, Muslim to Muslim, like we have to take a look at the manuscripts of Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, Abu Hassan al-Ashari.
Well, yeah, but okay, well, manuscripts is a weak thing to appeal to. For example, in Hadith, you don't really have manuscripts.
No.
You have translations.
I'll tell you
No, you have manuscripts of people talking about
Like,
how they knew people who had that view.
We have manuscripts
But you don't
from
actually have their writings.
We have manuscripts of, for example, Imam Bukhari Sahih.
Yeah, but when though?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so you
Imam
wouldn't really
Bukhari-
appeal to
no.
it.
But manuscripts, for example, and there's someone like on rocks and stuff. I think Sean Anthony. You know about Sean Anthony? You read his
Yeah,
work, right? About
yeah, I quoted him earlier. Yeah,
I
Sean
know,
Anthony.
no, but
yeah.
it's different from quoting and like I'm not trying to say
Yeah,
I've read it, but I
I
want
see
to
you
know
said,
if
do
you've
I know
read it.
Sean Anthony? I'm like, yeah, I know Sean Anthony. Yeah.
No, but I followed up by saying specifically respecting his work about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where he took out the existence. He gives the examples,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And he talks about how things are written on rocks about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
You know,
coins, etc.
he actually rejects most, if not all, of the Sirah. You're
Oh,
aware
what,
of that?
sorry?
Sean W. Anthony rejects most, if not all, of the Sirah.
That's not a problem at all.
Okay, I'm just
That's
making
fine.
you aware,
Even
it's
like,
all right.
and that's another point as well. Like when it comes to the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it comes like the early seerah, for example, right? We say like Ibn Ishaq, for example, or Ibn Hisham, right?
Yeah.
This like we do, subhanallah, we have the same standard. I'm showing you our consistency. Our early seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Hisham, what we verify. If they make a statement and we cannot verify it, we reject it. For example, I believe in Ibn Ishaq's or Ibn Hisham, sorry, his book on Seerah, the early Seerah, he mentions, for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam torturing a Jewish man for his gold and saying, give me your gold, and putting a steel thing on him. We reject this because he didn't give a chain for it, right? So even our own scholars, we reject
Well, no,
there's
like,
no chain.
so
You're gonna accept it.
for a lot
Yeah,
of
he's gonna accept-
wait,
this one he's gonna
this,
accept.
this is where it gets problematic.
I'm joking,
This is
go
where
on.
it gets problematic because. So for me, if I want to establish the historicity of something, or at least more probable than not that something is
You know,
historic,
it's all the evidence, right? You
yeah,
say?
but I'm also going to look at the historical criteria that we have as academics. So I would point to the earliest records. The problem with Islam is that they basically purge a lot of their earliest records. So for example, Sahih Bukhari, if you look at the 6 most authentic books of hadith, they're dated much later than, for example, Ibn Ishaq, right?
I know what you're
So
saying.
the problem I have though,
Rubik made this argument, right?
Oh, I don't know if he has.
he
I'm
made
not
this
really.
like-
Well, this is like
It's mainly big
Gabriel
from him.
Reynolds would make this.
And
Many
Daniel
people would make
Brubaker was
this.
the beginning of the first did this argument. He made it
Patricia
very
Crone
big.
would make this. Michael Cook would
That's
make
fine.
this.
Yeah,
Fred Donald
show
would
this
make
argument
this.
we know about as well.
Right.
That's fine.
My point though is that if in Islam you have some of the earlier sources saying things and they're mass repeated, there's a lot of ruwiyah that goes back.
Riwayah.
Ruwayah. I don't know how to pronounce it different ways.
We're
That
talking
go-
about Al Quran now. I don't
the-
understand what we're talking about.
Wait, different narrations, different. They supposedly go back, right? But they don't go back to Muhammad. They go back to some of the Tabi'un or something like that,
the
right?
narration that's
Some
like-
member of the
That's
Salaf.
fine. Okay,
And they do it in mass. Like they transmit like 50 different ones of
I know
these.
you're talking about based
And-
on someone.
Yeah, yeah. But my point though is that it seems reasonable to me, using the historical approach that we have in critical scholarship,
don't go back
to simply say,
By the way, that's
well,
not
it
true,
looks,
by the way,
it looks
about hadith.
likely. Wait. It looks likely that the early Sahaba believed that.
No,
tell you
but
why
I-
that's
but
not-
it's a good point. You said, you know, it's a good point.
I
It
think
says-
it's a misconception.
She doesn't go back to
Imam
Muhammad.
al-Bukhari, for example. Let's go back to Muhammad.
They don't give chains to go back to.
They don't go back
Who
to
was
it.
before?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And you find out weak if they don't go back to the
But the reason why though is they did not think of it that way. The early Muslim companions did not think it was essential to go back to Muhammad
do
in
you know
chain.
that? How do you know that?
Because they didn't.
I'm
How do you know that?
Because they didn't.
How do you know that?
Because there's tons of
Oh, so you want to appeal to
Dr.
the
Shahab
later
Ahmed.
evidence? So you want to appeal to the later evidence to know what the Sahaba believe, but you don't appeal
No,
to that same
no,
evidence. to what
even
Muhammad
Ibn Ashaq
said?
mentions Ibn
I'm
Ashaq
asking if they don't
mentions
go back to-
chains, but the
Ibn
chains
Ishaq
are not
is weak.
complete.
We can take a look at Ahmad ibn
That's
Hanbal, for
the
example.
whole
Many
point.
shayukh say he's
The
weak.
reason why they're weak is partly because they're not complete.
I'll
They're
tell
also
you-
not
No,
mutawatir.
that's not
They're
true.
just singular
That's not true,
chains.
that's not true.
But there's tons of them.
That's not true.
So
I'll tell
you
why.
have to believe that
In
Ibn
Ibn
Ashaq
Majah-
just like
I wonder why
made
you
stuff
think
up
of
or
it
was
as well.
massively
Please,
confused about what people believe.
That's my thing.